academic students and interested, but they are slanted, but not terribly, not so far that I've been. You know, so it's kind of scary though from what some of the stuff she's saying about how they're trying to get into small towns. Undergrad students.
Well, this is part of a bigger agenda. I just saw a brand new video yesterday.
Hello, Franklin.
Yeah, there was a video of a woman who was involved with yeah, how particularly incredible.
Oh yeah.
Literally climbed the steps, and she she's a teacher herself, and she's advising teachers how the teachers unions apply to the teachers. They tell them you need our liability insurance. And it turns out that's not true. There's private liability insurance. And this was the woman who did the lawsuit some years ago that freed the teachers from being forced to pay to the unions as a condition of their employment. So teachers no longer
Right.
have to pay to the
Right.
unions.
You're extortion.
Yeah, well, it used to be that way.
Yeah.
So they've been free. They haven't really been free, but the teachers unions fire them and tell the teachers that, you need our liability insurance and you need to be part of us and support us because if you get sued, you need our liability insurance. It turns out that the teachers union liability insurance is actually a Medicare product, and so it's a way of controlling the teachers. So this is really interesting. It's a conspiracy of unions are essentially communists.
Oh,
And
they're
part of them,
rabid.
yeah,
Rabid.
they're rabid. And there was this issue on one of the talks, and I've got to do a reading about this. What is it how they get teachers?
Oh, that
And this came like out of the 1980s.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's 20.
yeah, yeah.
Late 20s, yeah.
Well, there's this document that goes through the list of plans, the plans that implemented strategy. I mean, the actual, the real beginnings are, I think, in the 30s. But
Yeah, yeah.
and so one of the things that she said that they have done on purpose is to take civics out of the education process. And they don't, and because they want it done non-populace. They don't want self-governing populations. So
Right.
this was a good. Now, what was the name of that? I don't remember the name, but it's a great new video. Apparently, it just came
It
out.
just came out because I didn't look at it, but I got it on my phone.
Yes, I got it on my phone just yesterday.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
watched it, and it was fascinating to learn about that. So,
Yeah, that's yeah, that's disheartening, but and the question though, does the person have to join the union to get a job as a teacher? So it's kind of like the rank and work laws that for like other fields.
yeah, yeah. It used to be that you had to go to the teachers union, and you know what? And then the teachers union said, well, you don't have to join us. You have to pay us. You have to pay
Yeah,
us
yeah, no,
even if you
no.
don't. So, but that was declared unconstitutional.
Yeah, right.
And the let me see if I can find the quote. So, let me talk to you on that.
I get it on email. Yeah.
like farming too.
Oh yeah.
The pink like farming,
Yeah.
planted
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
by Chris Ray.
Oh, who did it? Chris Ray?
Well, the FBI probably did. I mean,
Okay, right.
all the
Okay,
signs
okay,
point to
okay.
that. Now, why can't I find this crazy video on kids? I don't know why I can't find it.
Maybe it's a text, and I can't find my text right now.
It's crazy.
I'm not sure, but it seems to me. Let me see. I got emails.
But this is I'm just saying this is a video you
Yeah.
may want to look at. Hang on, just hold
Stop
on.
drink education.
Yeah, but that wasn't it. That
That's
wasn't
not
the
it though.
interview.
That's not it. Okay.
When I sat down, I wasn't sure if my head was
Oh, no, no, I'm well above you.
was
Yeah,
that okay? Good.
yeah, thanks.
Okay, guys, if you'd sit down, we're ready to begin. Refocus your attention.
Anybody that's involved with Indiana development, for me,
Well, let me share you a little bit about my experience with COS to start off this next section, then we'll take some questions. But I am so thankful for Convention of States Nebraska, we tried it this way. Well, how did it go there? Well, how did it go there? Comparing notes. They had experimented on the subject matter that were being addressed. And then they were coming together and saying, this is why it didn't work this way. Well, what about this way? And it was beautiful to watch because it was actually working. What was supposed to work was actually working. And we had incredible debates. We had very insightful conversations in the committee room, but also on the debate floor about things that would work and things that wouldn't work. And it was down to the point where we had elected a president of the convention, right? And the president was from Louisiana. He was old school, man. He had been he was one of the youngest members of the rewriting the Constitution of Louisiana. So he was one of the only people well, make the case to the committee first. So I started working with members of the committee first. And the first hurdle I had to get over was the fact that they hadn't even published my bill online. I couldn't share it. I was having to print it out and hand it to people individually, members of the committee. So I went to someone who I was watching in the caucus who didn't say a whole lot, but I could see that they were getting bills passed. And so I went to him and I said, hey, could you help me get my bill actually published on the website so I can share it? And he's like, well, why isn't it published? I don't know. I said, here's the bill. Here's why I think it's necessary. Within 10 minutes, he had made a few phone calls and it was up on the website. And he sent me a text and he said, it's up. I said, thank you. Then I can share it by email and text and everything else. So you have to be, sitting in that caucus room observing who is getting bills passed and who is approachable to help you, okay? So that's something that she can do. But the other thing is it just takes a lot of work of convincing people about what you're trying to pass and why it's important. Handing them information. I was making copies of research and data and handing it to people and saying, please read this. And highlighting different things or whatever and making sure that they have the information easy to read. The other thing you can do is if you know the bill that this person is trying to pass, you as a citizen in their district, but also the committee chairman is used to getting messages from people around the state. A lot of times, state reps or senators only listen to their constituents with direct email. You can't email someone else's, state rep and get a response. But chairman of committees are used to hearing from people around the state because they deal with issues that handle, that dealt with in the whole state. So you can write as a constituent in Indiana to the chairman of the committee, and you can get other people to write to the chairman of the committee and say, hey, why aren't you giving this bill a hearing? This is why I believe this bill needs to have a hearing. And you can be an advocate, and you can lobby that committee chairman for her, on behalf of her. So that brings clout to what she's saying. You as a citizen, I can't tell you, there was one time there was a bill proposed, and of course there was federal money being dangled in front of the legislators and everything. If you pass this, we'll give you this money and everything. And there were moms that got wind of this bill, and they were irate about this bill. It was going to cause a lot of problems with just moms and young kids. They showed up in force at the state house, strollers, diaper bags, booster seats, everything in hand, kids crying, and they were like probably 200. And I have never seen legislators pay more attention than when those women showed up with their kids on their own dime lobbying the legislature. And then they brought cookies and brownies and everything else and passed them out to legislators and, really lobbied them. And they said, this is why we are concerned. And it made a huge impact on legislators. People like us who are just regular citizens showing up and saying, I'm not paid to be here. I took a day off from work to be here. But you know what? I'm really concerned. Why aren't you giving this bill hearing? And that's very effective. Yeah.
And this is a good opportunity actually to have Paul jump in and talk about S3 legislation. Some of the folks here may not know our involvement in things outside of state legislation.
Sure, we encourage our state teams to identify bills that they want to support that are not related to COS. We call it F3 legislation because our requirement is the bill has to do something with freedom, federalism, or fundamental rights. And if it's in that space, we authorize the use of all of our COS resources to support that bill, with call to actions, emails for our database, all of that kind of stuff. And we've had a lot of success with that kind of legislation.
No, that's awesome. And it is very effective, especially when you're a citizen and you're emailing, calling, and actually showing up in person. Powerful. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Citizens Coalition for Legislature Accountability. The Convention of States, by the way, was the founding member of that. Our goal is actually, rather than teaching legislators how to play the game, to change the rules of the game so that it doesn't require a superior legislator to get great legislation through. If you're familiar with CCLA, can you tell us how I can tell you my experience with legislators right now, they are actually terrified trying to take away the power of the Speaker of the House, the President Pro Tem, and the committee chairman. Mostly, I think, because they're hiding behind it.
Yeah.
And we are working with gubernatorial candidates to try and get them to make it so it's not requiring so much courage on the part of a legislator to actually change this game. Is there any other game plan we should be working with? Because right now we're finding the legislature, including the rest of the suite, are terrified to actually change this game.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but I think you're doing the right thing. I think it's something that it's going to take a little bit of time because I was hugely disappointed after what. Okay, so my husband served in the state legislature during a Democrat governor and no, two Democrat governors and then a Republican governor. Okay, and he also served during a time when the House was split almost 50-50. So it was tough. It was really tough. That keeps, in a way, that keeps them more accountable, and it doesn't allow for the leadership of one party to be so top heavy that they can micromanage things. Let's just put it that way. So I think what has happened now is that Congress is so top heavy. It's hard to describe. I mean, it's top down right now. However, there has been accountability things put in place. If you notice with the Mike Johnson election, there's still that agreement of one person can offer a vacate the chair, motion, bring a vote, things like that. That's an accountability measure. There's debate on whether it should be one person, there should be a requirement of 3 to 5 or something like that. But that was put in place because of the top-down mentality that had existed under Nancy Pelosi and even Republicans. It was there regardless. And it seemed like let me reword that. It didn't seem like we observed that this was the case. There is a rotating. How do I describe this? The people at the top don't care who's in charge as long as the people at the top stay the same, regardless of party. So it's a power rotation between the two. And there's money in the parties that they don't want to let go of, that they're in charge of. And it is very scary when you see a rotation between Schumer and McConnell and there's not much difference. And they scratch each other's back. That's a problem. And it's a major problem. And it is intimidating to legislators as they're dealing with that because they are stopped and stymied and not being able to pass legislation. So yes, that is the system that we have. What I was disappointed in was when I returned to the legislature as a legislator, it was more top down than I remember it being under both types of government. And so I think there might need to be some accountability measures put in place for the leadership to avoid going so far down the road of top down that it's almost irreversible.
What
But
other
it really is
strategies
up to
can
the
we use
people.
though to get that through? We're working right now. We're trying to get executive branch candidates back. We've got the lieutenant governor on board, the Republican lieutenant governor candidate.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we can be doing? Because right now what we find is the rank and file legislator is terrified of standing up and being the guy who proposes these rule changes.
Boy. Yeah, I think the pressure, they need to be more terrified of the people than the leadership.
That's the point. So it's just we need more time and just stick our nose good and keep doing what we're doing on both sides of the government,
Yes.
like the legislative and executive.
But it's going to take educating the masses, right? It's going to, as we doing our job on the ground to educate people about the problem and why the problem is at our doorstep. It really is a reflection of, we the people having kind of let things slide for too long. We just kind of assume that as you elect people who check off the boxes, that those people are going to do the right thing, they're going to do their job. And we haven't held them accountable. And then, in turn, the people in power and leadership make it harder for us to know what they're doing because there's less transparency. Whereas I'm glad that in Indiana, at least we can sit here and we can actually watch committee meetings online. We can do that. We can watch the legislature online, which is great. But not everybody takes the time to do that. And so they know that. And so as we start doing things like that, we actually
website to be working with each other.
And, CCIPP Bolton.
Yes.
Sounds like it might be a good feature on COS Indiana Live.
Hey, I like that.
Imagine that.
Like, mention it every week.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a need in Indiana. And I know there's other states that have a counter to the liberal point of view. It's a email or, a quarterly newspaper or something like that that they send out. So there's definitely websites and things like that that are trying to counter that in other states. But I don't know of one that's like a central location in Indiana where people go, or where legislators go to check it and say, did I make that? Right? So that's what we want to do and encourage the good legislators by highlighting them. The same thing that the New Deal people are doing with these mayors and county councilmen and things that they're trying to elect in these small towns. Go on their website. It's the New Deal. I can't remember what it's called, but look up Mayor Zeb Mathers. I think is his name, of Canton, North Carolina, and you'll see links to the new. He's part of the New Deal effort. And when you look at what the New Deal is doing, they are highlighting different people who are passing certain things in their little town that are according to the liberal agenda. Well, what are they doing? They're rewarding their good behavior on their list of on their checklist. We can do the same thing. We can do the same thing. If we've got good legislators, then we need to say thank you. We need to let people know what they're doing. Because half the time, legislators who are really trying to make a difference don't have time to go home and brag on what they just did. They're so busy trying to get it done that they need somebody else to let people know, hey, you know what? We just had a big win. We got a committee hearing on this bill. Hey, let's pat them on the back and say, good job. We're getting a hearing. Let's show up. Let's go down to the State House. Let's be there at the hearing. Let's be there in force. Even if we're not going to testify, just be there. If you show up with a little button on and say that you're supporting this bill, you know how much clout that gives to their legislators? It's huge. It's huge. I mean, I could have used that a couple times. It would have been nice. Yeah. So, yes, sir.
In your experience, did you have a chance to find out what is the average, of all the 50 states, what's the average length of the legislature across the country?
Of someone serving in the legislature?
No, the average length of session.
Oh, session.
I mean, we know some states operate all year long.
Right.
We operate a whole 2 months.
Yeah.
And they want to pass 1,000 bills in 2 months. It's
Yeah.
ludicrous.
Right.
What is the average? Do you have an idea of what the average number of months?
I don't have an average, but I do know that, let's say, like California is a full-time legislature. New York, same thing. Trying to remember. Michigan, Ohio. Okay, full-time. It'd be a fascinating study to look at the difference in financial standing, freedom issues on legislatures that are part-time versus full-time. Because when you go full-time, you start losing freedoms. They have more time to get in trouble. They have more time to do stuff.
Yeah, government that is best is a government that governs least. And you mentioned, I don't know who the kingpin was, about getting your legislation, I think it was, up on the, to be read. You said you wanted it. Who was that power broker?
I don't know. See, that's the thing.
See, we should
I
know
don't know
that.
who was stopping
And there
it.
shouldn't be a power broker.
Right. Right. When something is clear through LSA and leadership, it should be up on the.
And I think that's what Dan is talking about. We're talking about state legislature in this accountability
Yeah.
aspect. We want to take the power away from these kingpins.
Right.
And we need bills that everybody can understand to help us do that.
Yeah.
So it's a vicious circle. We've got an LSA that writes bills that no one can read or understand. We don't have it published to the public, and the website is so busy that the average Joe can't make heads or tails out of that website to follow legislation. So we've got a real problem.
Here's an idea. It just came to me, but I'm just kind of brainstorming. I love brainstorming, and good things and bad things come out of it. But here's an idea. The left is great at messaging and making causes sound really good in the public. What if the legislators started seeing grassroots messaging about, like COS has done a great job of this. I think they've done a great job of making a case for COS. If there's a bill having to do with the 3 F's that you mentioned, and you're wanting to So, educating people by, getting someone to fund social media posts about it, doing videos about it. I mean, just doing a whole messaging campaign in your local area. That could do a groundswell of grassroots support that translates to a legislator going, oh, if I champion this cause, I'm going to be a hero in my district or in my state because there's so many people that are supporting it, and the public perception is positive. So it's an idea. Yeah. Not promoting a candidate or something? Or, yeah.
I think that's for the purpose of it. And I was told that signal to informational system to something like doing
Yeah, so there are different situations when a state submits new legislation for F3 consideration, and our legal and legislative staff will go through the bill specifically, and there may be a bill that has a piece in it that fits our criteria, but some other things that are outside of that scope. And in those cases, we'll probably say you're approved to share information about the bill, not directly say that COS is supporting it. But if there's a bill that lines up completely with our values, we'll authorize our users to get out, express advocacy for the bill as opposed just to sharing information.
and you go through these segments,
Yeah.
and then I send it to them.
And it's not like COS is saying we endorse this bill in this legislature. They're saying here's information about this bill and we wanted to share it with you. Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Yeah.
I think I want about, during when I, I've got the, excuse me, legislators about that, and they say they have to be in for so many terms before they have enough population can be done. So, where are we at in this talking timeline?
Yeah. It was a great debate at the simulation, and I learned a lot from that. I'm thankful that there have been states that have passed certain, term limits and have experienced them for a while. It is my understanding and my experience that it does take a while for a legislator to understand the process and to really kind of get acclimated to how to do it and how to be effective. In fact, when I served, I even learned, and I had been married to a legislator, but I even learned that I should have started a little earlier, promoting my bill to members of the committee that I knew was going to go to. I should have just started earlier because once session started, I didn't have enough time to explain to them why it was needed. I should have started earlier in the summer. That was something that I learned after 2 weeks, right? So, and then not just that, you're still trying to meet people and create relationships with people to be able to work with them. That takes a little bit of time. There's 100 members of the House and 50 in the Senate. I had pre-existing relationships with some of them, so that helped a lot. But people that are going in completely green, meeting all these new people, it just takes a little bit to have conversations to talk to them. And you have to be proactive. You have to be constantly working at it. It's not, something where you just show up and clock in and clock out. I mean, I was talking to people after we were done voting and, calling them, when I was walking, home, basically. I was trying to work it as hard as I could. So it is definitely something that is a learning curve, especially if you come from a business sector and you haven't served as a county councilman or anything else like that. It is a learning curve. I would say that what I learned from COS and simulation is that the states that had the shorter term limits regretted it because the people that were actually elected and accountable to the voters weren't there long enough, and the staffers and the lobbyists knew more than they did. So the staffers and the lobbyists end up running things and telling the legislators what to do, and they're not accountable to anybody. So they just say, well, we'll just outweigh you. The same thing we heard on the you have to kind of gauge like how many terms would be effective in the House, and then if they wanted to run for the Senate, would they have enough to be able to do one term in the Senate? You know what I mean? So it gives them the ability to be effective, possibly in both places and then be done. But my tendency was right around the 20-year mark. You know, I mean, if it's more than that, I have a problem because when you look at the average, it is 8 to 11 years right now, having served, you know, to serve in the legislature, to serve in the House of Representatives. In Congress, the average is 8 to 11 years. So they're kind of naturally term limiting themselves because of people. But when you look at the people that have been there for 20 years or more, that's where the problem is.
That's right, this is term limit.
Yeah.
I got no
That's where
problem
the
with
problem is.
91-year-old determined of cognitively capable of running, but like that's just.
And that's where you're seeing the chairman of the committee. And that's why the Republicans term limited their chairman of the committee. You can't be a chairman indefinitely. They term limit them as a chairman, whereas the Democrats don't.
So is 50 years a good qualification for a president, would you say?
Is what?
I think this actually gets back to the rules of the chamber. One of the arguments that legislators use is I have to be here so many terms before I can be good at this because the system in the legislature is so bad that until I've kissed enough hiney and done all this, but if you change the rules of the legislature, now somebody can be effective in their very first term there.
Yeah.
They can still get legislation through, and that takes away the argument against term limits.
You could also, if you're talking on the state level, you could lobby them about term limits on committee chairmen. Because when those chairmen get those committees, they want to hold on to them as long as they can, and then it encourages them to stay longer and longer because they've earned this chairmanship. So why not limit the chairman first, and then you're going to get more turnover.
Our bill refers to other federal officials. So that would include each state.
Yeah.
So Diana, going back to your concern where a legislator says, I like fiscal restraints, I like limiting federal power, but I don't like term limits in your resolution. So they're not thrown out the baby with the bathwater. You tell them, pass our application, and then when you commission your commissioners, tell them they can't vote for term limits. That's the way it's structured in Mississippi. So that's a quick way to get around. I'm not going to look at any of it because it's
So there are exemplary states that have done that because Sarah said that in our I just watched the testimony last night again for like the 8th time or something.
Yeah.
Really so well done. And he said it. So Mississippi is an example.
Yeah.
That's their plan. Okay.
Yeah, there is a lot of frustration as a freshman legislator when you get there and you feel like you can't get a bill heard. It is very, very frustrating. And you do have to be diplomatic with people. That's just regular. That's how to run should be checking in on them and saying, hey, what's this rule right here? Why are you doing this? And they can pull them back. And then if there's a problem and it needs to be addressed legally, they can go to the legislature and say, and the problem, my dad used to say this, everything rises and falls on leadership. So when you have a weak leader, you're going to have bureaucracies that aren't weak grow. Okay? And when you have weak leadership in the legislature, same thing. But if you have people who are willing to give oversight to those bureaucracies, they will pull them back and have them in check. So to answer your question, the bureaucracies kind of have more power as they are allowed to have it. And the people that are allowing them to have it actually should take their power back. So the governor, the legislature should take their power back. But it's up to them. It's up to them. The only people that can put pressure on them to keep them in check is we the people. So you can take reports. I know a lady who actually shut down an abortion clinic because she caught them on so many violations, tiny little violations that she noticed. Didn't have a wheelchair ramp. They didn't have proper, parking lines. They didn't have this or that. And she kept reporting them and reporting them and reporting them. And hundreds of reports later, all of a sudden they found something that was highly illegal that the abortionist was doing, and they shut his abortion clinic down. But the interesting thing was, he had 4 other ones. And so that shut down 4 instead of 1. And it was just one woman being insistent on reporting and catching it. So that's we the people. That's we the people. It wasn't health department. So, any other questions? Well, this has been, I've really enjoyed this. I hope you have, and I hope you take away something from it. I'm just so thankful for your involvement and understanding. But I think, we have a lot to do, and I think this is a great opportunity and privilege to be a part of what COS is doing on multiple fronts. But I think we have it passed in Indiana. We're just going to continue to make sure that it's there on the books, and then we expand that to other states around the country. Yes.
Oh, also, just so the folks here know, we're working on what's called our phase ready bill. We're going to meet with Senator Coleman, who is amending the current legislation with prison concerns. I'm going to turn that down to, and we're going to give him a state right there to come in.
Oh, wow.
Tuesday.
Awesome. That's exciting.
Yes.
That's exciting. Well, you do have, there's a lot of good legislators in Indiana trying to do good. And when you get one like like who's signed on to COS, who gets it, make sure that you encourage them. I'll leave you with this. Just remember that these legislators, especially in Indiana, are part-time. They probably have a full-time job back home, or at least a part-time job that they work, and they also have families. So keep that in mind as you present to them and as you approach them. Realize that they're people. They're human. They're approachable. They're not some elite group. They're just normal people, and they have families and they have kids and grandkids that they care for. So make sure that you treat them, with kindness and with respect. But don't be intimidated by the title. Just remember, you're the boss. We the people are the boss. Don't go in there with guns blazing and try to set the record straight on every single thing. But go in there understanding that they're human and they have some of the same concerns you do. They're in a different position. But at the end of the day, you're their employer. And they need to listen to you. If they don't have time for constituents, that's a problem. Because that's their job. That should be the priority over anything else. Yes.
I just want to make everyone aware, in addition to COS Indiana Live, we do a podcast
to be louder.
It's coming through the computer, so.
You're on the Bluetooth and the Bluetooth speaker in finding mode. There's probably a way to put that in finding mode. Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so we'll talk in detail about it. Computer know you're looking for it.
Go back to the, oh, it's better.
Just drop it in. You can talk in there.
That's a little non sequitur, Mark.
We've got a crew here working on it, Mark.
Yeah. Is it set for how quick it goes?
How many tech people? I can't work my way.
Is this thing turned on?
Yeah. Well, I asked TJ about that.
Tried that, we couldn't get it to play that.
Not yet.
Okay, I've got my one.
The doctor failed.
You know, if this had a mitochondria or something I could do for you. It was non sequitur to start with. Or ribosome.
It says it's give me an ATP molecule, I'll be able to do more.
Doesn't have a manual.
Yeah.
We've got good minds working, we don't need mine.
Yeah, everything's connected.
appreciate everybody getting up close and intimate. It's better I can see y'all anyway. One is just, I didn't realize how long and how much there's a family feeling for me and how long you guys have been involved in Convention States, because there's a whole bunch of you there that I know and have known for a long time. And so I just want to thank you for your service to the cause. It's actually easy to get involved in something and get enthusiastic, and then it's easy to walk away. Like when everything doesn't go perfect, or it just kind of seems like things are slow or whatever, we lose people, and that's just normal in grassroots activism. And so to see a bunch of you there that I recognize that have been around so long that I consider close friends and really family, that's a big deal for me. And it's a big deal for us, and I think it is one of the things that makes Convention of States unique. We understand that everything we do is based first in a relationship, and we have great relationships inside the organization, and we spend a lot of time and energy on that, and those of you who've been around for a while know that. So just thank you guys for being there. Also, thank you for being there on a Saturday when there's all kinds of other stuff that you could be doing. That might be more fun, quote unquote. My little granddaughter just arrived, so that would be more fun. No offense to you guys, but I love hanging out with Lorelai. She's 2 months old and the light of our lives, so she's here. And we're headed out for Pumpkin Patch Day. It'll be Lorelai's first Halloween and first pumpkin patch. She won't remember it, but I will. So that's what I'm doing today. I've got family in town. My son's here with his girlfriend from Virginia. First time we've met her. I think we approved, so that's a good thing. So all good stuff going on here at the Beckler household. There's a couple of things that I want to talk to you about today, and I'll keep it short because I know y'all have lunch coming. First of all is just what it means to be working in a past state and why that's so important to me. When we started Convention of States, I'll be honest with you, we didn't even think about past states. We were just trying to pass states. And so the idea of what happens in a past state was something we didn't think about. And I would argue, I think it's inarguable, we neglected that in the beginning. And it hurt us. It was hard. If you were an early pass state and you passed, it was kind of, you were off our radar. We didn't really have anything specific that we had planned for you to do or thought that you should do. And so some of the states just kind of disappeared. Georgia's a state, our very first state to pass, kind of went away after we passed. And the team that we have now in Georgia, I'm not sure any of them were around when we passed in the Georgia legislature. And that was not their fault, that was our fault. And so over the years, now over a decade, we've developed protocols and ideas for what we think y'all should be doing. We know you need to be there because we know that in many states there are rescission efforts that take place. And if we're not there to deal with that, then we're going to end up getting rescinded. We know that legislatures turn over faster than I ever imagined. On average, a state legislature, 50% of the legislature will turn over every 5 years. Most people have no idea how fast that happens. And so for us, that's really dangerous because that means we talked to everybody, we built the constituency in the legislature, we got champions, and in 5 years, 50% of those people will be gone if we're not still going back to the legislature and educating them about Convention of States. And then over the years, we realized, well, Convention of States isn't enough. And one, it's not enough because it's not enough to save the country. There's a lot more that we have to do to save the country. Because when you guys do the right thing and pass Convention of States like you've done, ultimately the goal is get the convention, take power away from the federal government, and bring it back to your state. And so your state better be healthy from a governing perspective. And who's going to make that happen? And nobody better to make that happen and help for that to happen than you folks who understand first principles and have been in the fight to bring the power back to the state. So we need a self-governing grassroots army to keep your state legislature in line and to tell them the right things that you want them to do and stop them from doing the bad things. And then I would say also we need you there because we realize that you guys understand what needs to be done in your state better than almost anybody else because you spent the time in the state legislature. You're spending the time with the legislators. You know what's going on in your state government. It's almost unheard of that somebody gets heavily involved in Convention of States and doesn't become politically aware of just about everything that's happening in your state. In fact, it can be overwhelming. You realize it's your city council, your county board, your school boards, the state legislature, and of course on up through the federal government. And so what that means is in keeping an eye on your state legislature, keeping them in line, there's nobody better than you guys to do that. And that led to our F3 program, which was a way for us to be involved and you to be involved in sponsoring and supporting other kinds of legislation that doesn't directly read into Convention of States. federalism, fundamental principles, right? Those are the things that we care about, and so it's allowed you guys to pick what you think is important. By the way, this is completely different than any other grassroots organization I'm aware of. Every grassroots organization in the country, good or bad, left or right, works from the top down. And what that means is their leadership decides that we think are important, and these are the things that we want you to do. And then that leadership tells the organization, the grassroots, what they want them to do and how to do it. And it's not that I think that that's necessarily bad. I just don't think it's the way that grassroots should work, in my opinion. The way grassroots should work is you guys have the knowledge and the wisdom. We learn from you, and then we do everything we can to support you. And so that's how you end up choosing the legislation. We run it through our side, filter it through legal, make sure it comports with our values, and also make sure that the legislation is appropriately drafted in a way that we think is constitutional and appropriate, and then we support you in that stuff. That goes with our overall governance philosophy, which is completely upside down from anybody else I know in the world, and that is that we have an upside down pyramid. Every organization is a pyramid shape, and usually the president's at the top and sort of the line workers at the bottom, and we flip that upside down. The grassroots are the very top of the pyramid because you guys are doing the real work out there. And I would argue that there are people in the organization today that are at a higher level of importance than even you guys. And I would say those are the brand new grassroots activists, the people who just come in, the people who have some hope because you've given them hope. They've signed that petition. Maybe you haven't even been contacted by anybody yet. The lifeblood of any grassroots organization are the new people coming in. We always need those people. And so that's who we're built to serve. From the newest grassroots activists, and then it's all the way down to the bottom of the pyramid, which is me. My job is to support absolutely everybody. If Catherine's job is not to tell you what to do, Catherine's job, and the reason she's so good at what she does, is because she has a servant's heart. She's a true servant leader. Her job is to serve all of you, to make sure that you have whatever you need to do, whatever it is you need to do to get the training in servant leadership and anything else you need, the materials you need, the backup legally you need, compliance that you need to make sure you're doing what you believe you need to do to keep your state in line. And then ultimately on the back end, we're going to get to convention. And the convention, your state legislature is going to send a delegation to that convention of commissioners. They're going to look to you for expertise. They're not experts in this, and most of them are not going to be experts in this. And legislatures look to experts to help coach them along in what they need to do in any given situation. When they're talking about education, they're going to talk to teachers and education experts on an education bill. So when it comes to Article 5 and sending you guys to convention, they're going to look to, or sending people to convention, they're going to look to you guys. And some of you might get sent, and some of you might be advisors, but we need you in the field all the time. They need to know, oh yeah, convention of states are the people that we use when we need expertise on Article 5. So that's kind of how we've come to the model that we're at nowadays. So I just wanted you guys to get a feel for that. I'll give you my input, my 2 cents, which is what it's worth on what you should be doing right now. Right now, for me, the most important thing facing the nation today in this moment is the 2024 election. We always talk about it's the most important election of our lifetime, and every election has been, in my opinion. This one is, again. And this one is because I think there is an existential threat facing the country. These people openly talk about destroying America. I mean, this is the weirdest thing, and I've watched this since Reagan, where the left moves further and further left. They've gone from being liberals to leftists, and from being leftists to being open socialists and Marxists who talk openly about hating our flag, hating our country, hating Christianity, literally hating everything that's good about the United States of America. We've come full circle, 180 degrees from loving America to hating America. I mean, Kamala Harris has to temper what she says so that the people who hate America don't think that she loves America too much. It's unbelievable. I never expected to see this. The left actually used to turn more towards the right in election, towards more moderate positions. And there's certainly some of that fakery going on with Kamala Harris, but she's catering to, for example, pro-Hamas, pro-Hezbollah, anti-Western, anti-American factions within their own party. So that's what we're facing. If Kamala Harris is elected, I mean, we're going to have full-blown communists in the White House. Her dad was a Marxist professor. This is where she cut her teeth in politics. And so that means to me that our focus right now, today, because early voting is taking place all over the country, the election is not in 32 days, as Kamala Harris wants us to believe. The election is right now. It's starting all over the country. And so we should be engaged in GOTV to the extent you guys are doing that in your state. And Telepatriot, we should be volunteering as Telepatriots. Back at the top of the hour, I'll be on a Telepatriot call launching a Telepatriot Blitz. And I have to say, for me, that's one of the lowest bars in COS. Like, you pick up the telephone and you call people. And I'm kind of blown away that some people are intimidated to do that. I think it's weird, I get that. But literally, if all you have to do is pick up the phone and you can make a difference to save your country, that seems like a pretty low bar. And so we need as many Telepatriots as we can, making as many calls as we can right now, driving out the right kind of vote, because this election is going to be close, in my opinion, and it's going to come down to margins of tens of thousands of votes. I mean, margins so slim in some places that your phone calls could be the ones that make the difference. So that's what I'm encouraging to be involved in, people to be involved in right now. That's why I'm taking time away from my day to be with you guys, away from my granddaughter to be with you guys. It's hard to pull me away from her. That's why I'm doing that, because I think it's that important. And that's why I'm going to be on this Telepatriot Blitz call as soon as I'm done with you guys. You know, and you notice that hopefully everything I talk about focuses on grassroots. It's on your role, the things that you can do, why you're here, how you can make a difference. And you guys do make the difference. I've been doing this now 15 years, grassroots activism. And when I think about my time in the movement, in the political movement, it's always been grassroots. I've never run for anything. I haven't run campaigns. I don't spend a lot of time in DC. It's always on the ground with folks like you, because that's who I am. When I think about that, I'm hesitating, because you guys know I'm never at a loss for words. But when I think about actual patriots on the ground doing what you do, you guys who came, a couple of you came out to Fredericksburg, raised the money to do that, or came on your own dime, spent your time. Like, I'm blown away that people do that, and that we have people like you that do this, that work so hard. They come out on a Saturday. It overwhelms me, honestly. And in my mind, when I think about that, and you guys have heard me talk about life fortunes and sacred honor, when I think about that, I don't think about it in a generic, general sense. I pray about this every single night. I pray for God's protection over the great grassroots of America, the people to whom I pledge my life fortunes and sacred honor. I look around that room. I know you guys. And so when I think about it, I'm not thinking about some general notion of the grassroots. I'm thinking about all the people that I know on the ground everywhere, literally thousands of people around the country to whom I personally pledge my life fortune and sacred honor. That's to you guys. It's not some generic. And when I think about that, I always feel a little bit bad. I don't think we do enough to recognize you guys. And I say it all the time, and I know that. And the reason I don't think we do enough is I don't think it's actually possible to do enough. There's nothing that I could do to repay you guys for what you put in, the time, the treasure, your heart, relationships that maybe get damaged because you're a political activist. I can't repay that. And so we do as much as we can. And one of the most important things that we do is we give out challenge coins. And challenge coins to me are incredibly important, because they say that somebody is not only an incredible activist, but they have gone above and beyond. They've been so involved, they've done so much that everybody around them knows they're beyond the average extraordinary activist. And I think every activist that we have are extraordinary, from the newest to the people who've been around forever, but certain people go above and beyond. And so I have the privilege and pleasure of being with you guys today to award a challenge coin. And today I'm going to award a challenge coin to Dale Tipton. And so, you guys I'm going to say a bunch of stuff, I'm going to read a bunch of stuff that Dale's done, but every single time I award a challenge coin, everybody says, of course. Like, everybody in the room knows why I'm awarding that challenge coin, but I'm going to say the stuff anyway. And the list is long. Dale joined COS in January 26, 2021 by signing the petition. I'm actually blown away by that, because I feel like Dale's been around a lot longer. Like, it seems like forever. And I mean that in the good way. We've just done so much. And this tends to be a common theme among challenge coin recipients, that they do so much. So he's been state director since April of 2023. But Patriot volunteer, a state block blocking captain, and a state grassroots coordinator. All of that stuff. So that gives him vast knowledge about the on-the-ground working of each of those positions and pretty much everything that we do in convention of states. And this is what I find is a common theme among challenge coin recipients. It's rare that somebody's just done a thing or two things and they get a challenge coin. And the reason for that is that they end up, they're the kind of people who raise their hand, right? You know that kind of people, whether you've been a parent in PTA or you volunteer, it's like they say there's going to be a bake sale, who can bring something? Somebody's going to raise their hand. That's the same person who they say we need people early at church to set up chairs. They raise their hand. They say we need volunteers to chaperone the teen dance. That's the person that raised their hand. The same kind of person in convention of states. That's what Dale is. You can see whatever it is, there's been a need, and Dale goes, yeah, I'll do that. He probably says, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I don't think I'm qualified for that, but if you need me, I'll do that, right? That's pretty much what is a commonality among challenge coin people. Something near and dear to my heart is that Dale started the Ham Radio Coalition. And I think it was another area, Dale, where it probably said, I don't really know all this stuff, but I'm willing to do it. In fact, I know that. I mean, he's learning as he goes, and that's incredible. And been a coach to me and a mentor to me in that regard, and I'm super excited. Something I've believed that we've needed for years, and I don't know how to make it happen. And he figured it out and made it happen. We have a very active ham radio coalition all across the country now. I mean, largely because Dale drove that and is driving that. He's the driving force behind that. So I appreciate that. Also, I left out the LL team. I mean, so he's done the grassroots side, but also the legislative side. And I think that's incredible. He knows the legislators in his district really well based on relationships. And I think that it's impossible for me to imagine the Indiana team where it is right now, as good as it is, solid as it is, without Dale in a leadership position. And so Dale's one of those guys that when I say life, fortune, and sacred honor, and I pray about that every single night, Dale's one of those guys that I picture, that I'm pledging my life, fortune, and sacred honor to. And I know when it hits the fan, if it hits the fan, that he's one of the guys I'm going to be trying to reach by repeater on my radio, because he's a guy that I will be happy to be in the firefight with, and I'll count on him in every situation. So, Dale, it is an honor and a pleasure for me to be here with you guys with the Indiana team, awarding you with a very well-deserved challenge coin, my friend.
Mark, you know he's retired FBI, so this gets you off his list.
If I'd known that before and you told me that before, I might not have trusted you.
I think he'd be fired as the present FBI.
Yep. Yeah. You want to say anything, Dale?
Mark, all I would say is it's a very humbling thing. I've seen a number of these things presented to people, and you always think, well, I wonder one day if I'll ever measure up to receive one myself. But it's just a great honor. I think I was like many people that whenever they entered convention of states, I remember whenever I first heard about it, and I filled out the first application to be a district captain. I told my wife, I said, this is something I think I'm going to do. And of course, I was actually retiring instead of doing a second job after retirement. And I thought, this is a place I can spend my time, and it feels like a calling. It feels like something, God wants me to do. And so that's kind of the way I've gone into it. And it's like you said, I've never accepted a position yet that I really wanted. But as a matter of fact, the state, and people can tell you here for the state director thing, I called a couple of people, 2 or 3 people, and I said, it probably should be you. And they looked at me and said, I don't think so. And so I said, well, then why not? And so, here I am. But it's a pleasure to work with you. I enjoy the time we got together back at Crown Point when you came for the session at the church, and that's where the ham radio idea was formed from. And so it's really cool to be a part of something that we took from the ground up and watched it grow.
Well, congratulations. And that really is, by the way, Dale, the way you described, that's the mark of good leadership. When I'm looking for a leader, it's very rare that I would choose the guy that says I should be the leader. And I see this all the time in teams, and I don't want the guy that raises his hand. I want the guy that everybody points at. And that's the guy that usually says, not me. right guy for this. And ultimately people say, no, you probably are. Or you feel God tapping you on the shoulder and going, yeah, I know you don't want to do it. You know, I think about that all the time, and I think about it biblically, all the people who got tapped, who were the most unlikely of people who didn't really want to do what they got called to do. And to me, that's just leadership. You know, when we came into grassroots, we had no intent of leading anything. And it just sort of happened, and it got put in front of us. And so I just feel like you fit that mold perfectly, and you are a great servant leader. I see it in the way you act, the way I've interacted with you. Your whole goal is always just to serve. And those are the best leaders, and you're in that mold. I also want you to remember, what number is on your certificate then?
Number 316.
So I want you to think about that. We've been doing this over 10 years, and you're number 316 in 10 years, 10 plus years, which means that 30 people a year get that award, roughly. And millions of people involved, literally thousands upon thousands heavily involved. We have over 10,000 that I consider kind of our core, hardcore activists. And so out of millions, down to 10,000, down to 316 people have received that award. It's pretty particular. And that's why when I see anybody wearing that pin, and I walk up to them at an event, it's emotional for me, because I know how rare that is and what that means, and it comes from your fellow activists. I don't have the right, by the way, to nominate people for a challenge point. That's not the way it comes. It has to come up through your state leadership and through Catherine, and then ultimately it gets approved by us, in essence, by me coming on and doing this. But it doesn't come from me, that's from your peers, and it is rarefied air. And I believe at some point in American history, the Smithsonian or some other institution will be trying to collect those challenge coins and build out a collection of all of those, because you guys are the ones that are leading the way to save the country. So God bless you, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
There's a little appointment in there and a little pin for it. Relations with
Thank you, Dale.
Thanks, Mark, for joining us, and thanks for
God
being on
bless.
the text list. I wish I could be there
Yep.
with you guys today.
I'll be there.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again.
All right. Shut that down?
Who was the first challenge point? Indiana, right? Number 6 over. That's the way I'll remember that.
I'm not a young guy, I have to tell you.
threw them off of Slack. They were using it as boom draw because they're too conservative. You know?
Slack is owned by Salesforce, right?
I don't know. It could be.
Yeah, but anyway, big tech controls it, Diana, and we want to free ourselves from.
So to move to another big tech platform that is a little less. Oh, okay.
This one is not.
I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Zulip is open source. That means code is available to anyone who wants to download it and like tweak it a little bit for themselves or help the whole group, which is all over the world, make it better. So it isn't owned by anybody. It's owned by everybody, you might say. That's as far as the code goes. And this is installed in the Conventional States cloud, not Amazon. Conventional States cloud. And they lease that from the company that COS Strategy. So we can't be kicked off of it, in theory. I mean, A-bomb could hit the cloud and or whatever. You know, there's always something. But this secures us from being shut down. And you can go back and see any of our history that we want. You want to see what you posted in on Slack, but now on Google in 2015, 16. One simple search gets you there. I can search for my name and see all of mine.
Even things that I deleted?
No, not things you deleted.
Thank goodness.
That may be a good thing. So it's only going to see what you can see now in Slack.
Dale, I've already archived your stuff.
I figured you did.
We got that in a special vault.
Special.
So all your, it's a lot like Slack in that you've got all your channels over here, you've got all your people over here, which you can hide if you want. Put that on, put that to back. You want to send somebody, Catherine, a PM of.
Now, Gary, this is the screen that we were going to see.
This is it. Yeah.
Well,
it's not quite as pretty.
it's not.
Slack,
Doesn't
but it's a
look
lot
as
more
friendly
efficient.
as,
What's that?
It doesn't look as friendly. Am I the only one?
It is just as friendly as.
So you're talking to the wrong guy.
Yeah, I just don't want to talk to you.
It's not as pretty. Maybe the colors aren't what Slack is, and you know, whatever. But it's more efficient. So I have sent Catherine a direct message. I can go right down here and type it in and send it to her, and she gets it. Direct messages are right here. You can collapse that or whatever you want. Channels are down below. You got your inbox up here. Anything new will show up in the inbox. You don't have to go hunt for it.
Oh.
So now you're done. It's just all right there in the inbox.
That's great.
Recent conversations, things you've done recently, and the next choice. Combine features shows everything all together, even the channels all together, rather than separated. And somebody mentions your name by @Gary Grove, for instance, it'll be in this mention slot. And if somebody just clicks a happy face, it'll be in react. Started messages are there. If you make a draft, maybe the stuff you haven't sent yet, you're working on it. There you go. So then your channels are down here, but here's the important thing. Let's look in general. And when we import, what's very important is that Zulip does topics. You've got channels, but inside the channels are topics. They're like a subset. So if you got events or channel, you could have a Tipton, Indiana COS fair or something, or down in Anderson. That would be a topic, like subchannel, inside the event. All the comments inside that are separate and held together in that topic, away from all the rest of them, so they don't get mixed together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. How about the import or the things whenever you did the changeover that were pinned?
Zulip is not pin message.
Okay.
But you can, what I'm going to do is create a channel that is pin messages. And each one of the 50 states, that's all it is. Hundreds. spread one and post it related?
Well, all the channels that are created now in Slack be transferred over, cause some of those channels we don't use.
That's in there. That's what these are.
Yeah, cause some of them haven't been used in a couple of
Yeah,
years.
but they're all there.
Okay, alright.
So when you look at this and you look at your channels and the things in them, the older stuff goes to the bottom and probably off the screen.
Okay.
And if you don't want to see one, you can just say, I don't want to see that. You can check off the box and set that. And you can rename channels, you can rename topics, everything. The moderators and admin. So here is a general channel title. It's got 2 topics in it. If I wanted to reply to this topic, which is called October 1st Slack one, well, I just come down here, click in this box, right there, reply to selected message, and I can read. This is my reply. And so there it is, and if I wanted to bold that, I come down here, highlight that, and place the B, the bold, and there it is. And if you want to see what that actually looks like, it's using what they call markup language, which is very common in websites and such like over email. Click the little eyeball button, and it shows it in bold. And click the edge button, and you're back. So just come over here and hit send. But before that, let's look at this message menu right here. You can press enter to send, control enter to add a new line, and you can, that's user selectable. If you want that set, you can do that in your settings. So if you want to schedule this message to be sent 2 days from now, you can do that. If you want to view your scheduled messages, that's an option, and you can save this as a draft and report it later.
How about the equivalent of like that app channel thing where you,
Yes. And you can add people.
so you, okay.
Well, that's
So you could do everybody in a channel or an individual person.
right.
Jared, I know we currently have about a gigabyte capacity to upload. Will this be the same or will it give us more?
Gigabyte in Slack, really that big?
Yeah.
In Slack default, it's pretty small, but we're going to make it bigger because that's an admin thing. But I don't really want to make it so that it looks like a huge video file.
Not a huge one, but
Yeah.
Dale and I do a lot of back and forth transferring and
So that's a consideration in the video. I really haven't set aside what my budget like.
I mean, if it's even just went to a gig and a half, or you know, you get to a gig and sometimes it's just
Right now,
it's not enough.
this next week, the server's going to be wiped clean, start all over because when it was built, the guy built it, what I'm looking back and forth with, here in the back of it, just didn't put the settings right because this is the default from the Duo install. You can install Duo from your computer if you want, if it's free. But then you have to keep going around. It's easier lesson by lesson.
When is this going on?
Well, there's 50 states, and there's near 100 Slack groups out there. Might even be more. So all those have to be downloaded with certain permissions to get all the things that we want in them, and which includes the files. I think we figured out how to do that. Indiana Strategy. This is the newest test. So 4 eastern states in Illinois are called District Union Region, and they want to do it now, all at the same time. So that's what I'm looking at first, along with some other stuff. So how soon could we? The question goes to the state leaders and the state directors, and Catherine decides whether they want to just do one state at a time or do the whole region out at the same time.
how easy is it to navigate on your phone versus the computer? Because sometimes it's limiting.
Well, it's smaller, so.
Well, yeah, obviously.
That's a
really big phone.
It's a little bit different in the interface, but we have a PDF for each the phone and the computer, shows how to do that, shows you how to do that. And we've got an intro to help you get started using it, sign you in, find your email, and everything.
Is this a video?
Huh?
Is it video?
Those are PDFs.
PDFs.
And then we just got, as of a couple days ago, a video showing how to use it. And explains some of the stuff I'm talking about. Once you get into this and figure out the features, Slack makes it for you. You know, you like that picture on the wall over there? So, this is good.
What about workstations, like, can you something that lets me file a region or do, district plannings or
It's just like Slack.
just the same thing?
Now, here's something big. For our Ds and national, and I have not had the chance, of any of this stuff done enough to do it. But in theory, I can put all the states together, get them on my area, and a national, and make a channel on national, so that as soon as they push theirs, they'll copy to all the states.
That's cool.
I think that may be rather tremendous for me like that.
Show you right now, my account, I can get on using the app on my computer, but the website for conventions for Slack has been screwed up since I started using it. My username and password never worked. When this thing comes out,
On what name Slack?
it doesn't matter which email I use, it doesn't recognize me, it'll never let me change the password.
I could run
I have some of those, yeah.
You have to
But
also
it's-
understand that
it's big
Dan's got a
text,
thing about using Slack anyway. That's his excuse.
My temper goes off after 30 seconds for Slack, but my question was gonna be, when everything transfers over, will these passwords and usernames with the website, version of this still be messed up?
The PDF that I made for the intro to get started shows you how to get started. Everything, everybody in Slack now is here onto it, but no password required. So you have to reset your password to an email. You try to log in, it says reset password in the bottom left corner of that box. Hit that, sends you an email to the email that you have in Slack. Yeah, the same one.
What's the problem with working on it?
Well, do you have any email?
I'm looking right now to see what's going on.
Yeah, if you could fix it, I'd love to.
But for general, everybody else. You'll use the same email you were using in Slack. If you want to change it, you can do that to get in. And I did that already with this Indiana, because my email was set to a non-COS email for Indiana, was one of the first I got into. And I got a duplicate account in Slack, which was COS Action email, and it wouldn't let me get rid of that in anything I tried to Slack. Well, I did do it here.
We've got 3 different accounts in this one.
That's probably true.
Again, cell biology good, technology bad.
So, anyway, I was able to fix that problem in just a few minutes. That's a Slack only thing, Slack only thing, cause Huddle, that's their thing. Here, you can come, let's say, here's another file that they can send that, so, let's say I want to Huddle this thing, and that's down here somewhere. It's not a Huddle, it's a add video call. So I click the little button with the video camera, it cuts in a link to a video for Jitsi. Some of you may have heard of Jitsi. So, there it goes, and it's also configurable as, they wanna use Zoom there, the admins can probably set that up. If we wanted to use something competing, some of you that talk to me, that could probably be done in the future. That with the join video call, I click this, bingo, brings up Missy. Just need your microphone saying right here, right there, whatever. And there we are. I'm gonna sign in as Jerry.
Oh, that guy.
Hmm.
There he is.
And you can join that meeting, I'll send you links right there and it sits there and do it here. Click the button and you're in.
Huh.
Very good. And Jerry, if you're talking about admin, will they have their own admin, or
Yeah.
how's that gonna be eventually, or?
Well, pretty quick. I'll be an admin or actually owner in all of them. So I can do anything, because I need to do things and set up, sync view, defaults and that kind of thing. Not that much really. And so you'll be admin in the, but here's another thing. Besides admin, it can be moderator. So if somebody doesn't have the power of moderate or admin, they still have quite a bit of power to help other people fix things in life.
Okay.
So you could bring the level of administration down for a lot of things.
So Steve Bryan could be the Zulip master.
Yeah.
Instead of
Oh,
the
yeah.
Slack master.
Yeah.
He's still
Yep,
around.
yep.
So no problem there. How we doing time?
Jerry,
Yeah.
are we gonna have to put ourselves on this, or will we
You're already in
automatically?
there.
Well, okay, we're automatically in it.
You're, and when it imports all the channels, all the content, and all the members, even deactivated.
So,
And so what you have to do to actually get in is still reset your password, because it didn't bring the password over.
And Jerry, they have to know what email they're
Right.
logged in on.
Same
A lot of
one.
them are not the Zulip actually.
Right. But it'd be the same one that they have in
Yeah.
Slack.
Yeah, but if they haven't used it in a long time, then they have to.
Right, yeah.
Like
You-
Ken is.
yeah. So they might have to send a message, stuff like that, and they can't do it now, they say, oh, you used the wrong email.
Most people are smarter than I am, but I don't think it'll be a problem.
Not about medical, but hey.
I think it's just a reluctant Slack user.
Might be a personal appointment. Does it have bookmarks?
so are you gonna send us the app?
What's the address, Jerry, for them to go to Zulip?
When it's time for you to move, we'll get an email.
Perfect.
That's easy enough.
So later on today, when I'm sending something to Dale and Catherine, I should still use Slack right now. I should not try and get on the Zoom.
That's right. So, you'll also be sent a message in Slack. And notice that, hey, you moved. You'll still be able to use Slack, but you won't notice that you have to move. Probably not going to create in Slack or do it.
Well, so Jerry, since there's so many workspaces in Slack, we'll probably have to use both for a period of time, right, until all this changeover happens?
As far as nationally, you mean, nationally?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not gonna happen all overnight.
yeah.
So, like I talked about this paper meeting, region is what it is, that's 5 states. To get them moved, then we'll move the next for individual
Are
exception.
you gonna do it by region then?
Well, that one is, because that's what they decided.
You know, I was thinking about all the other one, like they've got one for state directors, state grassroots coordinators, you know.
Oh, those will be
Ham Radio
after the
Coalition,
states,
all
yeah, well, I don't know how to keep all that list, I know.
But anything we do in Slack now will still come over eventually too. So
As long
Word,
as,
so they're gonna shut us down.
as long as we do an import,
In other words,
that's
when they see that
still
we're moving
import it, let's say I
bit at a time.
import Monday, and we
Could they shut us
implement
down?
it Wednesday. Well, just 2 days.
Hey, Jerry,
But you can copy and paste from one to the other. Or just repaste what you did.
LW's got a question that if Slack hears that we're all shutting down from Slack and moving to Zulip, could they terminate us?
Well, if you get all moved, I don't care.
But you said you're doing it a little bit at a time, so what?
We're doing the imports into Zulu all one time. I'm going out there and making backups of Slack right now.
50 states.
Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong on this, the
we're
only
good.
account that COS pays for is actually the national flag account,
I
right?
think there are a few others. I heard a while back that Texas paid for theirs themselves, for instance.
Because they wanted all the resources.
Because they wanted all, that's one of the reasons, yeah. Indiana could do that, but
Yeah, you guys are
it's
on a
not,
freezer.
SWAC is not cheap. I will tell you that. Texas is a big state and they could afford to better pay with that. There are a lot more people than money in the state.
What you're demonstrating visual is free.
It, is, it's all free.
Yeah, I mean the slack driver.
Oh,
Slack people use
yes,
here is the free
Indiana's
version.
a free one.
And what you're showing is gonna be better than what we're using right now. So
We're using the free version of Slack which only sees 90 days. I can show you on this, clear back to 2015. Everything. May end up missing a little somehow, but we think frankly past the year and okay.
It's probably true.
Yeah. But, well, you're dealing with a legislature that operates on a yearly basis. And the Fairfax will have it, but I don't know if people have heard that much, other than to find out, what was my grant made, postage stack, it'll be there.
Well, if things don't go well, we're interested in that.
Oh,
Don't come in Slack.
my.
Don't come
Goodness.
in.
I was waiting with that.
I can tell.
No, we got it, we got it. We just didn't want to say
This
this.
this has been pretty long in the making, considering. I've done an awful lot of research on it. We can actually mirror new messages from Google to provide set that. And we just go from there in a couple days. And that's a work couple of things.
Just so you guys know, the competition at national causes is, when we get closer to 34 states, they're gonna do everything to shut us down. And we don't wanna be caught.
Absolutely.
So that's why you're so hard.
And I mentioned Liberty TikTok, they're not the only one who did that. And then Slack got hacked. And some stuff internally on whoever Slack people are was exposed to the public.
Oh, and something to keep in mind on Slack, don't do political stuff on the general meeting.
Right.
Keep that to the random, private messages.
One thing for administrators and moderators, companies in the wrong place, places, and do what it should be, and rename it even. But we got more flexibility than everybody's got. And so, making things like that.
All right, 12:59. Time for Mr. Phillips.
I take a bow out, you take a bow in.
Yep, thank you, Jerry.
And this is my framework computer, the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
This again, that's what this is. Okay, we're going to start the interactive portion of the meeting. And what our goal is here is to set some goals for 2025. And it seems to me that this is maybe the fourth or fifth year I've facilitated through this process. I decided not to show the instruction video, but just to review the format that we're going to use for coming up with the state goals for 2025. And we use a process called 4DX, the 4 disciplines of execution. It's a way to get some real focus on specific goals that you want to accomplish. And it's really taking some time to think about what are the most important things we can focus on. The process uses the concept of the whirlwind of all the stuff we have to do, you know, like checking follow-up tool and getting petition signatures and checking Slack and all of that. And if you can imagine kind of reaching in and pulling out just a few things that are very important that you want to accomplish for next year. Now, it doesn't mean you ignore everything else that's in that whirlwind that you got to keep up with. And the way the process goes is first we identify some WIGs, and that means wildly important goals. Some of the key things that are really going to advance COS Indiana. Once we identify those, then we spend some time identifying what are some lead measures or some activities that we can do right now that will help us get to our goal. Because you don't know if you've reached your goal, your wildly important goal, until it's too late. And you need to focus on lead measures and those things that will get you there. And the common example is, if you want to lose weight, that's a lag measure, something you'll know when you get there. You need to focus on some lead measures. Diet and exercise, and perhaps having a good physician on your side. Oh, I do. Yes, I do. So, if you want to lose weight, don't worry about tracking your weight. Worry about tracking your exercise and what you're eating, is the idea. And those are lead measures. So, for any wildly important goal, we need to define some lead measures that will get us there. So, for example, you might have a wildly important goal about increasing the number of petition signers. What might be some lead measures that help you get there? Remember, I said this is interactive. Okay?
Number of events.
Okay, holding table events, getting petition signatures that way. Maybe social media posts inviting people to sign the petition. So I think you get that. After we do that, so we're going to focus on these first two in this meeting right now. After that, it's developing a scorecard that everybody can see where you'll have all of these lead measures listed and it will track the progress. For example, if you set the goal, I'm going to just make up a number, to hold 100 events next year where people can sign petitions, to track that. And in June of next year, you look at it and, hey, we've had 30, we're a little behind. We need to step it up. But the key is to have it on a scorecard that everybody can see and we all know how we're doing at the time. And then finally, cadence of accountability is having some type of system like regular meetings, say in the state call, where you're talking about the scorecard and what needs to be done, and somebody may make a commitment that, hey, by the next state meeting, I'm going to do X to try and help this lead measure. And then at that next meeting, that person would report, yes, I did it, no, I didn't, I ran into this obstacle, I think I'll have it done next time. And in talking with Dale, good leaders are very candid, and he candidly said that he doesn't think we've had the accountability going on, this scorecard and accountability piece. And he's got some plans to work on that using action reports, right? Yeah, the thought is, a lot of you guys see on the action reports, you can get the summaries so that they come through and see everything that everybody's done. And so this year I was asking Paul if we could make every goal written so that it could be written up on an action report, which I would see. Then I'll make my own spreadsheet, I'll update it day by day, and then I'll even incorporate it into my monthly summary so everybody can see just exactly how far we've got.
By the way, this was my report for this meeting today.
There you go.
Everybody, let's go.
measures, we want to define a here and a there. So recognize where we are right now for whatever that goal might be, and define what the there is. Where do we want to get to? And this arrow, that represents the lead measures. What things are we going to do to get from here to there? So Dale gave me some statistics. If we look back at what you all defined to accomplish in 2024, let me see. Grassroots strategy is you wanted to obtain 6,800 new petition signers by 12/31/24. That's a WIG. And Dale's reported so far, you've added 1,947. As of the end of September, okay. That 6,800, by the way, is a 10% growth, which is pretty aggressive, but that's okay. You also said you wanted to recruit an additional 34 new non-volunteer activist volunteers. Doesn't make sense. Activist volunteers. Huh? Non-role. Okay. And so far you've recruited 9. And then this is one I was real excited about, is the monthly donors, because it's never been done before in any state. You guys are kind of the pioneers of it, is to focus on getting more monthly donors. And you wanted to gain 13 more monthly donors in Indiana. Right now you are at 100, so you've lost a couple because you wanted to get the total to 130.
We started at 117.
Okay, started at 117 and now we're at 100. And then in the legislative area, you wanted to identify 4 COS champion legislators. You also wanted to submit 20 met with legislator action reports during the year, develop a quick response team with a minimum of 10 members, and rescind and replace the delegate selection law by 2024. That's the 34 ready legislation that Catherine talked about. There's a meeting on Tuesday at the State House regarding that. I don't know the results of any of those goals. And then finally, you wanted to have a rescission response strategy. So develop a strategy should somebody introduce some rescission legislation.
Let me ask Catherine, how many people do you think that we could bring, quote unquote, champions? Kind of do you think we have champions that you would consider on board?
Champion legislators?
Legislative champions.
I think that's an area where we're really, really weak. We've got to build those relationships.
Senator Holman would probably put him there.
Yep.
But I'm not sure if there's anybody else that's falling beside him.
We'll see who shows up on Tuesday.
So, let's start at the beginning. Anybody have any thoughts or suggestions on some wildly important goals to focus on?
I like Senator Rose's idea of having the freedom counterpart to Howie, a website that actually tracks what the legislature is doing on freedom-minded causes.
Now, how do we quantify that, though?
Well, I'll add that I'm going to, tonight or tomorrow, create some groups on Facebook or website for that.
I want every sign that gives us a phone number to call within a week. It's supposed to be 3 days, but I know that when I call and select someone
Let me say, I love that idea. That sounds to me more like a lead measure than a WIG. So your WIG might be getting more volunteers.
Yes.
Okay? And the way you do that is you call everybody who's on, okay?
Well, then let's divide it up between legislative and grassroots.
Okay. So this would be a grassroots goal?
I don't know.
Or legislative?
Tell me
Legislative? Okay. Dale?
I don't know what category this falls into.
citizen builder, it's anybody that, I know there's people that are supporters that are not petition signers, right?
Right.
So they've either asked for more information, or maybe they've made a donation, something else that logs them into our system.
Supporters is anybody in our database, right?
Right,
Which is bigger than petition signers.
correct.
Which,
No, wait a minute, no, I like tracking supporters, but I know you're saying petition
So we
signers
track
are more
both.
important.
We track both.
you can track both.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so maybe we need to settle on some terminology, petition signers versus supporters. Did I see somebody else have an idea?
I would like to see every EC have a relationship with their legislators. I know there's been designated before. So how do we put that in as a goal? Probably the
Well-
champions, right? Maybe?
Sure, there you go. So if you want to identify legislative champions, one way is to have so we're gonna ID legislative champions.
And keep in mind with those action reports, they have that other category, so literally anything that we name up here, if you do it, you could still plug it in under there so we can keep track of it.
I'm going to suggest one. I don't know if that's out of order because the guy running the meeting isn't supposed to participate
Well, this isn't a
according to it. How about pass the 34 ready resolution in the next session?
Well, to correct that, we're going to amend the current legislation. That's what Holton, not passed.
Okay, well, it's a fun meeting on Tuesday because I'm recommending rescind and replace.
Amend the commissioner selection process for it.
I'm just going to call that 34 ready, however that works out.
Good idea. Picking that thing up.
So there's a good legislative goal. Any other big goals you want to accomplish?
Well, how does this fit in? I mean, I'd like to see more state content writers for our newsletter, more contributors to COS and the NOI.
That's under other communications team, so.
Increasing the comms team, yeah.
Okay.
Is that am I into the?
Well, that kind of contributes to your 250,000 views, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, yes, I guess it would, yes.
But growing the comms team, that sounds like an important goal, right?
I think so.
Okay.
By how many? You have a number.
Well,
immediately, because the revenue's quite good. Always looks more social media people.
Yep.
So what's your number?
Let's figure out numbers when we break into the group.
All right.
Yes.
I'm not sure exactly where this fits, but I think our ultimate goal is to make sure that when the amendments come out of the convention, that they pass through the state with respect to
Ratification, yeah.
ratification. So, in my mind, that's going to require an attorney not to exclude COS after this, to be on top
Yep.
of the legislature at all times, so if they know they don't have an option, but to let it get through.
Right.
Whether that be by ballot vote or legislature. So, I'm not sure how to work that for that, but, that I think would be a reason to it.
I think that's going to be an ultimate result of a lot of things we already have on here is, increasing the grassroots, having legislators on our side, bigger comms team. That's what's going to allow us to put pressure on ratification.
Yeah, I think
But I agree exactly with what you're saying. I mean, that's our ultimate goal is, we always say, hey, we're about holding a convention. To me, no. I want to ratify amendments. I don't want to just hold a convention and talk about it. I want to see amendments ratified.
Because we've got like
million supporters, and Mark has
Roughly?
Mark
Yeah.
has always said that by the time we get to convention, we'd like to see 35 million.
35
or
million.
10% of the population. Do you think
Yeah.
that's a number that's been taken into
Yeah.
account?
So I don't know where this fits anywhere really, but I like to remind myself often when I'm in comms, okay,
Mhm.
that we're not just getting supports. We're not just getting signatures and petition signers are important. Volunteers obviously to get all this done and exponentially grow this. But the message and teaching, we're teaching in Indiana, especially when I think of the past days. If we don't educate people, even if they don't get involved, you have to educate. I hate it when we have these like petition drives. If we sign up 3,000 people on a social media post, and there's 3,000, what have they learned? One time we did it, some guy was so good at bringing people into our booth, they signed, I couldn't even get the words out, they're like, oh, pay the Constitution, I'm in, and they didn't learn a darn thing. So when we get called to convention, and no people have maybe signed, maybe not heard about it, if they're not educated, then they're subject to being, to the opponent's message.
Yeah. Yep. Ken?
You addressed that. One of the things that Dale and I are looking at is the renewal of our COS Live. We hope to have a webinar capability, which we could very well use for educational purposes.
Well, and don't forget about COSU. Maybe it's as simple as that, is we get every petition signer to take at least one course in COSU. Do the right stuff. Actually, I'd like to see them go out and instead of just. So that's what we have.
Call that goal supporter education, rather than just collection and getting them in the database. Yeah, go ahead, Dale.
I know last year, I remember us talking about this, and I don't know where we got on it, but it was creating a presence at the State House during
Yep.
the session.
Quick response team.
Quick response team,
Mhm.
as well as, I know Marty was, I think he had planned on being there every week, during the session, and just to have people there that, I don't know where we got on that, but,
We got a team together someday. I wish they would.
wound up being the same people.
Well, Dale, we did a Tell a Patriot drive on that, and the call probably 500 people that were in that Collier County area or whatever, and I think Marty went up with a list of about 50. But then you find out of the list of 50, whenever you invite them to come on a given day, you're lucky to get a handful.
Yeah.
And so that effort was ongoing, and there were people that came multiple times, but it was a small number.
We run into weather problems also.
You know, during the time of our session, that's always a possibility.
So, are we gonna try and continue that, or try and do it again, or?
You have to talk to our LL.
I would argue a handful of people is still wonderful.
I mean, if you look around the people in this room, most of the people over there on a regular basis are in that.
So, before I peek out the door to get these, we were talking about educating. So, a long time ago, I gave up using business cards. You gotta have the whole people and stuff. I just make up a sheet. So that gets so much more on. The QR code. So, I got just 3 of these, as far as I know, out in the car. You can have one, see how
I've
you
seen
hate
these,
it
so
or
if
like it.
anybody wants to come up and look at them, they can.
Are they the videos?
Yeah, pass them
Sarah?
around.
The videos, the QR codes?
Not necessarily.
No.
And here, you guys can have one, wear that up.
Like a wiki page? By the way,
Wikis,
guys, we have a
wikis on there,
we have a wiki page that's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
and that was one of my other thoughts.
They're on our sheet. We have to have them.
These?
That's a big one. You grab it.
Oh, I QR code?
It's been quite a while since I gave those up, so maybe there's better things that happen in there. That's why I do it, so it is. And I'll tell you this also,
anything else that you really want to accomplish in the next year? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
I'll throw out a couple, and feel free to suggest it because I'm kind of an outsider strong member. One thing that really helped us in West Virginia is we had a very, and still have a very clean team. The one thing that really helped them was the L&L and Mr. Austin elected him to Tennessee. Since that time, they've got a man on the inside.
So what you're saying
that
is,
lady that spoke today reminded me,
so what you're saying is, what do you think of the goal of getting a COS volunteer elected to office?
at least run.
Well,
Or at least run.
Shotmeyer elected to our school board.
Yeah, there you go.
That was our first success.
State legislature should review it.
I like it, though.
I mean, I can say I've seen a lot of state teams, and you guys are way more advanced. You're ready for it.
I'm just gonna call that COS candidate you want to get.
We've got somebody running in Ohio right now.
Well, that doesn't help Indiana.
I see. That's an example of what can happen.
Jeff,
I am in Indiana, but I'm old.
Well, we got
have you met some of our legislators? You're young.
We got a lieutenant governor candidate that's COS supported.
Is he?
Yeah. Well, but he didn't come up through COS.
No, he didn't come
So
up.
that's kind of what I mean by that.
Okay.
Jeff, you said you had a couple. Do you have any more?
Yeah, it's just a question. Do we have at this time, active state veterans coalition? Do we have that? Do we have it today?
Oh.
I think you guys,
Patrick Roman.
you probably don't realize it if you live here, but the national headquarters of the American Legion is smack dab Indianapolis. And if you've got a state veterans coalition director, you're gonna be able to influence national policy of the American Legion because the headquarters is in Indianapolis. So it's more important here than it is in most places.
Jeff, we've been kind of told that they weren't real
Excited about
excited about seeing us.
Well, they've hosted us at 3 national conventions and they've accepted us at 4.
Wow.
We had a booth in Indy, didn't we, at the, we did veterans?
Yeah. So, Jeff, great idea. I'd suggest, though, that that's a lead measure that plays into increasing supporters. It's sort of a group we want to target. So let's hold that. But when the grassroots team is meeting, when you're looking at things to do to increase supporters, we could have a goal, say, of get a VCD in Indiana, by the end of next year.
The good thing about veterans groups is they're in our database and identifiable subcategory of petition signers, and they tend to activate more readily than the average petition.
Any other ideas?
I can make it simple for you. It was a lofty goal during an election year. Done.
That's one goal we could have. I think, from what you said, we have to be
Okay. So I'd toss up here, do a 2024 AAR. Jeff can tell us what an AAR is. Okay. So I think that's a great goal to do that. So
Make a good state call for January.
yeah. Yep. Any other thoughts?
Well, under COS champion, I should say
something that you wanna do, but you've already done it, you can check it off right away.
And the other point is, we've got 2 champions in San, over in Jessica.
Yeah,
We just doubled the numbers.
yep. Very good.
We were 1 to 4, so that gives us 2.
Halfway there, buddy.
Maybe Brown, maybe she's 3.
Maybe.
Hey, we gave her a pay to team, she's
She owes us.
she, well, she has supported us, so.
I'm gonna put another one on there, take a little light for doing that, but develop leaders. So the people in this room are leaders. So I'm suggesting a goal for next year should be to raise the leadership level of everybody in the room. And doing something like servant leadership class, have a number of people you want to go through that. And I bring that up because I talked to Dale. I'm a trainer for the servant leadership class, so I have a conflict of interest here, I guess. But what I offered, if I'm so conflicted, that there's a new, just talk to Lisa.
I have.
There's the servant leadership class has been drastically updated, a brand new workbook for it. And if there's an interest in the room or among folks that aren't here, I would be happy to do an Indiana servant leadership class for the team going through it together. And it would still be online, so we don't have to drive anywhere to meet. So I'm just throwing up that offer if anybody's interested in that.
I have a question. I thought most of us had already taken the same leadership classes, or we were taking twice, or?
Yep, it's been completely redone. It's new and improved.
Now, Vicki, I'm working with a guy right now that's went through servant leadership for the 5th time.
What's his name?
Michael Orman.
Okay.
And he said he learns something new every time he does it.
Yep.
That's Chris Thomas, right?
Chris leads the mentoring department, but there are about 6 or 8 of us who are certified to train servant leadership.
So you're part of that group?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'd have to put up with me.
We've had him on as a guest.
Yeah. There's another guy who just signed up to take servant leadership the 2nd time around. His name's Mark Meckler.
Yep.
So there's your leadership by example. Huh?
Dale, I've gone through it twice. And you'll find it's completely different. I had Rosalind Weisenberger training through it the first time.
Yep.
And the second time, it's all different. You got different instructors.
Yeah.
Plus you got a different group, so the interaction.
Different people, but it really the new workbook is a key to it.
All the RDs and ARDs are taking servant leadership together, so it's a good.
There you go.
I'll talk to you about that.
Okay. That's ominous sounding.
I got 12 people on the servant leadership those. To get 12 people.
Okay. Where we are in the pivot. Anything last minute you think we ought to add to this list? If not, what we need to do is break up into some breakout groups. And I think we need one focused on grassroots, even. One focused on legislative, at least. You want to do a 3rd group to maybe take the comms issue and these 2, which really don't fit either. What do you think?
Well, we had 2 or 3. I like 2 tonight. We can start with 2.
Okay. So, let's do grassroots in this general vicinity and legislative in that general vicinity. Kind of self-sort into the group you want to work on. And your assignment is to pull some of these wildly important goals or come up with some new ones if your brainstorming does that. Come up with a here to there for that wildly important goal. So For example, go from 0 to 12 people in a servant leadership class. Or increase supporters from, what is it today? Probably around 70,000, increase it from 70,000 to 72,000, or whatever you want to do. And then for each of those WIGs, identify some lead measures. What are the activities we can do that will help us to realize these goals? Does that make sense? And I'll kind of wander around if you have questions and how you want to do it. So
We're gonna do one on comms.
what?
We're gonna do one on comms.
There's some self-governance. I love that. So, what you need to do for each of your groups is come up and get a post-it page, post it on the wall, have somebody facilitate and write things out, and I've got some markers.
Thank you very much.
You got something to work, Paul? I hope so.
This legislative group, oh, we're gonna put a couple pages together, or?
If they don't
I'm looking at, in our region, we've got a lot of candidates,
Yes, we do.
got a lot of retirements.
Right.
And it's really hard to even get a hold of them. I mean, I can't even find how to get a hold of my congressman, for example, Danny Lopez. I mean, he's got a website, and I brought all of his
He's not
literature,
responsive.
but
He's
you can't
mine.
find him.
He's not very responsive. Yeah.
He's not responsive at all.
This is your
And so we're
house.
not gonna know who he is until the 20th of, or the second Monday of January.
I've met him, he said he's in favor, but that was a quick meeting. But one thing we could do is go back to our list of who voted for us and
Who's still there?
and who sponsored us, and I can't remember who all those are.
Well, I've got a list.
Oh, yeah.
I have a
Just-
spreadsheet of votes.
I do
okay,
too.
So find who sponsored them, and
I
some of
don't know
those
if
are
I-
still around.
Can you
They
send
didn't
me
have
that
that one.
spreadsheet by Tuesday, before Tuesday, so I can
It's on my
Take it
computer
from
right
there.
here.
Is there
Most of them are gone.
There could be a few left.
There's a
It's
few.
telling us
Is there
to
more
see.
than one meeting Tuesday? So you're coming to Crown Point then? That's, because I know
No,
there's
no,
one.
this is in
He said
Indianapolis.
it's local.
Oh, well,
We're bringing Mike Ferris to Indianapolis on Tuesday. Yeah.
But you know, the votes, both the Senate and the House votes are recorded, and I've got I carry those around in a folder. But I don't think it talks about sponsors. But I know, for example,
But it does-
Shively,
yeah.
Donna was a co-sponsor.
Yeah,
Well, if you just put the legislation in, like a Google search, you can find out who the sponsors are.
yeah, it denotes who the sponsors are, and I think that's the first place we start. Some of them will be gone, but there's still some who are left.
I know there's not very many left.
Okay, so that's the first one then. Identify who's left,
Yeah.
who voted for and sponsored. And honestly, I don't think we're gonna get, well, Sue's been working on this. We have a candidate survey, right?
We ran into.
Several problems.
We've been talking.
Yeah.
I ran into a
Here's-
stone wall.
Here's my idea about that candidate survey, what we need to think about for the future. On our business cards, we should have a QR code that takes them to that candidate survey. When we meet, like Danny Lopez, and when we meet Hunter Smith, we have something to give them that's really easy for them to go to the candidate survey, as opposed to trying to find these email addresses, right? Because it's impossible.
I couldn't find any candidates, but I sent it to every incumbent. You know,
But
if
you
I couldn't
used-
find
you
a,
used
if
their
I couldn't find an
Indiana Gov,
incumbent,
probably.
I'm sorry?
You use their Indiana Gov official.
That's what I did.
Right.
That's the only way I could get it.
Right. So that's a problem, the way that we're trying to get to these candidates is a problem. We've gotta have, like he's got this sheet, we've gotta have something
Yeah,
on us
something
when
that's
we
quick.
see them at a fundraiser or whatever, and just say, here's a QR code to our candidate survey.
And the other problem, and we haven't figured this out yet, I drafted an email with the link in the
Yeah.
body of the text. I
Yep.
sent it to Susan. When she clicked on the link, she doesn't get the survey. But when I do, I get the survey. My wife got the survey. Anybody I've sent it to that I know,
So I don't know
the
if it's
survey
because of
comes
the
up.
double
What are you,
send.
well, what are
I'm
you
copy
using
paste.
for your,
Search, cause that might be, that may be the problem you're. No, I copied
No,
his.
I copied the
Right, but whatever
URL.
your computer is using to take you to website.
So your browser,
Your browser.
are
I
you
don't
using Chrome or Safari,
No, mine's
Edge or?
Edge.
Yeah, mine is Edge too.
Well, it's actually what, Bing or whatever.
Open
That's
up the
search
private
engine in the
window,
browser.
that'll cut out all the.
All I did was I took the URL code and I just renamed it because I didn't want all that long URL code out there. I just renamed it COS Action Candidate Survey, and it was hot.
Did
But
you
when
do it
she
with
clicked
like a
on it-
bit.ly or something? What did you use?
Don't get too technical.
Bit.ly is just a place where you can shorten a QR code.
I just
There's-
right-clicked on it
URL.
and changed its name.
A lot of links, you can erase that. You just go
Well, I
through
wonder
it.
if that's the
Tracking
problem
keys,
then
they
with
call it
mine.
tracking.
Probably. Well, yeah, we have to have a
I
change.
don't know, I mean, but I sent it to other
It can be
people,
stripped off.
and they got the survey.
And they opened it. Well, so
Yeah,
to
but
my
then I
point,
sent it.
let's make a goal, make the survey much more accessible or something like that.
The COS Action
Because
Survey.
even if they're in office right now, they're not, they're not running or whatever, they get elected, we still want them to fill out our survey,
Sure.
right?
Well, these are incumbents, so I mean, if they're reelected, it'd be good to know.
I mean,
It'd be good to know before you go vote.
it would
for
be,
'em.
but we can also know after the election. We just find out where they stand on
We just ran
convention
into a
seats.
stumbling block. We couldn't get to candidates.
Right,
And I
which
have a
is-
lot of candidates because of retirement.
Right, so what I'm thinking is and we can put a date on here. Before November 5th, we have a QR code to our candidate survey. So even after they're elected, when we see them, you know, they're gonna have to go to the State House early. We get our team over there and we just pass those out to them. Most states, I will tell you what they do, is they put a packet together. So all the legislators at the beginning of the session are given a convention of states packet. And there'll be a surge document in there, all right? Because Paul's helping develop the new surge document, right?
We used to
Or
do
if
that
Paul
every time I
helped
met with
Rita do it, yeah.
Okay, watch and read it. Well, that's perfect.
We had a 34 ready packet. I remember the 34 ready packet.
Of course, that's what we're meeting on.
No, way back. I mean,
My original.
the original 34 ready
which
packet,
was
and I would hand it to
training.
my senator or my representative. The first thing I give them.
Who can get the QR code?
I can have it made.
Oh, you can have it.
Yeah, put me down to do
It's in a
that.
red folder.
Yeah.
A number of ways to make it. I've got somebody here to find it.
Well, actually, National likes us to use whatever system they use for the QR code, so I'll make them do it.
Firefox is that one.
Do they?
Who's gonna take care of identifying the supporting votes from 2016 and identifying the sponsors?
Who wants to do that? I can do that. Okay.
What about the COS? QR code goes with the COS in the middle of it.
Yeah, I like that.
You're going to the meeting on Tuesday, right?
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna throw you under, you're gonna see who attends the meeting.
I'll be there too, and so will Sue. And Diane. You got a whole team there.
Paul and company.
Paul and company.
Who do I report this information to? Sue. Oh, okay, good.
How about I am the collector.
I will let you know what Margaret says.
The meeting in Crown Point that I was referring to is actually for Randy Niemeyer, who's running for U.S. rep, but there will be state reps. Well, I know that Julie Olthoff is going to be there because we already contacted her, and I already know that Rick Niemeyer, the state senator, will not be there because he responded to me directly. So we're trying to, in House District 19, we're trying to arrange a meeting with both of them, and Julie actually wanted Rick to be there together, so I'm trying to coordinate that right now. But I will be seeing them Tuesday night. I don't know if there's anything that might be helpful that I could give to at least Julie.
Well,
And yeah.
you could. She's running for re-election?
I mean, she will be.
Is she a senator?
She's a rep. She's a state rep.
So she's gotta be running right
Yeah,
now. They're
right,
all running.
right.
She's an incumbent then.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If Sue's got the 34 ready documents that Paul sent us, why don't you send him a copy that he could give her?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
Robert Aronson. Robert.Aronson, cosaction.com. ARONSON.
ARONSON.
Right.
.com.
Yeah, well, it's the COS Action email.
Oh.
This is what Paul's put together for us for our meeting, so
Yeah.
it'll be.
I don't know how
Something
much
like that.
time I'm going to probably be able to say hello to her because she and I have spoken before. It might be more productive since I'm trying to coordinate an actual meeting with them either in my home or in the library to go over this in more detail. It might be more productive to do it at that
Later
setting.
on.
At that setting rather
Yeah.
than try to buttonhole her in a get out the vote meeting.
So I'd just ask her if she knows about convention.
Oh, she does. She goes to the same church as one of the members of our group in that district, and she is in support of it. I do know though that she's not terribly conservative. I personally discussed with her, trying to be in cordial terms. let me, I won't use the language that I use, but is she MAGA or is she Rhino, okay? And she says, her response was, I don't like to be put in the box. And those who know her better have told me that she's really not, she's a Republican, but she's not terribly conservative. So that's what I know.
I will tell you this, my experience in all state legislatures has taught me that the more moderates are easier to work with on this than the conservatives.
Okay.
Because the conservatives have a tendency to lean toward
Right.
what the John Birch Society
Yeah,
tells
I was
them
just gonna
about
say
things.
that.
And less
Okay.
trusting of
All right.
anyone.
Well, I do know that she is supportive of COS, and my goal will be, to establish a relationship with her, see her with my group once or twice a year, and just make sure she's hasn't been turned. So
Let's do this. Why don't we plan all our DCs and RCs need to right away find out who gets elected. Right? I mean, that's where we start. That's basic. Who's in the new legislature? And then we break it down and we find out who's a supporter already and who do we need to work on. So I think that can be.
Can I suggest a couple of things to do that? Number one is update LMS with the legislator status and whether they.
You guys all know what the LMS is?
Legislative management
Everybody?
system.
Yep.
And then secondly, identify what you're talking about, all the new freshman legislators.
Yep. And invite them to
get
read
a personal invite
webinar.
to the freshman legislator webinar.
Yep.
When you do it.
November
End of November.
18th.
Now, what is this?
She's Rita. You know who Rita Peters
Oh,
is,
yeah.
right? Okay. Rita is hosting, but it will be
I saw it.
Rick Santorum, Mike Ferris, Mark Meckler are doing a webinar for all new legislators, freshman legislators on COS.
So sometime after the 5th, we would know,
Exactly.
and
we'll have to-
then we could invite, let's say Lopez wins, for example, in my district.
Yeah.
Then I could invite him via an email
Yes.
or
Well,
a visit.
They're going to get an invite by email from Rita.
Oh, they are.
But what's more important is if they get a personal call or invite from
Yeah,
somebody
let's-
on the
Okay,
Indiana.
so an
Let's both
invite,
do that,
if I
Larry.
can get in to see him.
Yeah, or
Larry,
call
if
and
you
say, hey,
tell me when you do it, I'll do it too. So
constituent
he
calls
gets
them
two
up and says,
messages.
hey,
And if you
hey,
get in with him,
please
I'll go
attend
with
this.
you. Let's go together.
And we want to hit,
Let me
Hunter
let me
Smith.
ask. Yeah, I can get Hunter. Let me ask a question about your Secretary of State and what information people running for office have to provide. Do they have to provide an email address on the Secretary of State website when they run for office? Has anybody ever gone to the site to see? Do they
No.
have to provide a phone number?
It's on the Secretary of State
It
website?
should be on the Secretary of State
I have no
under
idea.
elections. Yeah.
well,
Well, it might be by county clerks or whatever, but by county, you think it is?
They'll all be the same.
I don't know. Most states have it where under elections, if you go, is it called Secretary of State
Yeah,
here?
it's
Okay.
Secretary of State.
All right. If you go to the Secretary of State website and then it'll list elections and then it'll list candidates, right? All the candidates that are running for things, and you should be able to get their information there. But it's different state to state what information they have to provide. They do have to provide a home address, so maybe our approach is mail something to them. Because
Well, most of them that I, in my brief excursion here with the survey, is they're on Facebook or they're on
yeah, and I
LinkedIn or
send a
they're
lot
on,
of things through Facebook.
and, I don't do any of it, so I don't know I don't know how to use Instagram.
I don't Facebook. I am on LinkedIn.
But I could never find an email. They
It
didn't
might
do
be on the
anything.
Secretary of State
But,
site,
okay.
but
So it's under
we're
election.
certainly going to get a mailing address. So,
And they're, almost all the campaigns have a Facebook page, because they've all been told
Facebook.
if you don't have one, you're dead, and you can always message them through a Facebook page.
Yeah, I
I've
don't-
did
I
that
don't
for the
do that.
CCLA several times.
I do. I'd be happy if you guys tell me, if we can figure out, and I had Sue look to this, what are the open seats right now? So who's running for office in an open seat?
Well, I can tell you Region 8, but I can't tell you anybody else.
Did we have that broken down, Sue, yet? No, we didn't do it?
I didn't know that you asked me to do this.
Well, that was how we were gonna find House District 24 with Hunter Smith and Josh Mowry, that's an open seat. The person's retiring.
We've got 3 open seats in Region 8 that are restaurant companies, and Huston's running on a
So are we looking to get that for all?
Well, it would help to invite these new legislators to read
You
this
can
webinar.
get it real easy off Ballotpedia.
Okay.
Yeah, I use Ballotpedia all the time.
No, I got the whole list, all 100. All 100 seats are listed, right?
Yeah, and it
Numerical
tells you
order.
which one's incumbent and which one's an open
Little
seat.
I in
I thought you
parentheses.
meant email. Are the emails there?
A lot of times their websites are there.
Have to go to their website, or if they're a candidate, they'll go to Facebook, LinkedIn,
I gotta go in
Instagram.
2 minutes.
That's how we ran into problems, or at least I did. Because I'm a Neanderthal when it comes to social media.
I'm with you, baby.
I don't do any of that.
The rest of social media is Neanderthal too.
Yeah. That's why I don't do it.
I will pledge to find out all the new freshman
Alright.
legislators coming in. I'll do that.
Are we ready to go on to the next one? Right, 34 ready. You need another page?
I know what that spy device is, but I'm
Oh, you got more. Oh, look at that. You were hiding. Okay.
Paul did it. I think he's with the CCP.
I bet so.
All right, so 34 ready. First thing is we've got our first meeting.
Yep.
On Tuesday with Mike Ferris and Senator Holman. I guess we can call it a caucus, right?
At least the beginning of one,
Right.
And you're doing this where?
state capitol.
Oh, at Holman's office or something?
In
Cubicle?
Senate caucus office,
Oh.
wherever that is on the 4th floor. We'll find it.
Holman's the only state he's the only state guy, person that's going to be there.
Oh, no.
We don't
no,
know.
No,
No.
no. Others should have at least 6 other legislators.
Oh,
that-
okay. Are these cohorts? Like
We hope
of
so.
believers?
We'll find out.
You're going to find out. He hadn't told you who he's bringing.
Marty set it up.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're hoping they're supporting. I would like to see Indiana have a COS caucus.
I wonder if he's got representation from the state, or is it all Fort Wayne?
No, I think
Or,
he's going to spread it out.
the northern
throughout the
half of
state.
Indiana. 'Cause
Yeah. I
So
don't
that
know.
would go under the 34 ready.
COS caucus?
COS caucus, yep,
That has to be something the legislators have to establish for themselves, right?
correct.
So put down as encourage. How's that?
Yeah, encourage
That's a good word.
COS caucus. You know, something I found, this was a couple of years ago, but in talking with Representative Scheibele, I wanted to talk about the faithful delegate, I'll call it law, that we had. And she said, oh, no, can't do that. We mentioned something about COS now, all we'll do is instigate a rescission effort. So she was very resistant to talking
She's
about.
the one who's retiring, right?
She's retired.
Yeah.
But I'm sure she's probably not the only one.
She would not be the strongest spine. I got to talk.
No, I agree, but she was a co-sponsor of the resolution.
Think
or
of
the,
how crazy that sounds.
You
know.
know.
Keep it quiet.
We need to be scared of
that's
our
exactly what she said.
That doesn't
I mean, I don't think she would deny it. She's
I gotta
pretty
go,
straightforward.
folks. I gotta pick up my dog, and they close at 3, so.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Catherine. I'll be sending you some language. CACLA's got to do something on Braun here over the next week. We got to.
Well, I sent your website to Mike Ferris, so we're gonna have a conversation when we pick Mike up at the airport about CCLA. So we're gonna get him up to speed on what you're doing.
If you need me to be at that, I am at Lake Trash and at your disposal.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mike, I will, anytime, any place, anywhere, I can be there.
Okay.
Just give me as much notice as you can so I can reschedule a patient.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
apologize to my wife for doing so.
Okay, gotcha. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Catherine.
See ya. So where are we?
34
ready.
Yeah, we're going to encourage a COS legislative caucus.
Okay.
And then we're going to, how to put this, pass 34, either pass 34 ready legislation or rescind rescind the previous and pass new legislation. We don't know which one it is yet.
The faithful delegate
Yeah.
law,
Yeah.
or it's, I see something. I wish I
Amend
brought my
commissioner
folder.
selection, because what we
Yeah.
want to do is amend the commission. We don't want to change the faithful delegate law. We want to change the commissioner selection, correct?
Yeah, actually,
At
that's a
least-
question for Paul, because.
Question for Paul.
Yeah.
What's the question?
Yeah.
You said at the meeting on Tuesday, you're gonna propose rescinding and,
Not rewriting the whole thing, are you?
No, but it's currently in the Indiana code.
Right, I
and-
see.
And we want it to be a resolution, not a law.
Okay.
So that's what I mean by
okay,
repeal the law, but essentially pass it again in a resolution with any changes they want to make.
okay.
So what,
Resolution won't
Yeah.
have the force of law.
Yeah. No, it won't.
Exactly, it shouldn't. It's unconstitutional. Because it's a state legislature telling a future legislature how to act when they're acting under powers in the U.S. Constitution, and the Supremacy Clause won't let state law control the future legislature. So it's really a list of recommendations of what you should do, and they'll probably follow it.
so it's really not right the way
But-
it's written?
Yeah, so the way it's written, it's not enforceable. So the way it's written today, it says, say, 4 commissioners. Well, the future legislature has every right to say, no, we're going to send 7. And that's okay because it's not enforceable, but our opposition could say, you're not following Indiana law, we're going to sue, and they can try and stall the convention. And so having it in a resolution avoids that, plus the governor has no business being involved in it. So
What does it do with the penalties?
the penalties have to be passed as a bill. That's what's in there. There's the resolution covers identifying commissioners, instructing them, setting up the advisory committee. The criminal penalties is still a bill, so that will stay.
Okay.
Except we're adding another crime for anybody who tries to impede, bribe, threaten a commissioner from any state in the state of Indiana. It's a penalty.
Now,
Felony. So what that does, any state that passes that, it puts them on the short list to host the convention, because you're a Article 5 sanctuary state that you won't put up with anybody messing with an Article 5 convention in your state.
Don't forget that the unfaithful commissioner penalty was highlighted in that video. That's where the girl in the library, and
Yeah.
she shows that, and it's highlighted Indiana. You can go to jail if you're unfaithful.
Yeah.
So that,
Oh, you're
Indiana
right,
is-
yep,
Yeah.
that
It's
was,
got, the biggest problem is it's in the law and not a resolution, but it's
Right.
the strongest one. And when we came up with our model legislation there, Indiana was the most influential law in what we developed in the model. If you read the two of them, they're not identical, but they rhyme. You're going to see a lot of the same stuff.
next question then. The mock convention that you attended, did you not come, was there not a general consensus that we don't want legislators there, we want lay people there?
So this was the first mock that was done that did not have any legislators.
Right.
You weren't selected by being a legislator. We had former legislators, no active legislators. I can tell you that we were told when we were there, Mark Meckler and Rick Green both said, you guys got more done and better quality
Right.
amendments than came out from the 2 that we did with legislators.
So do we want to put in this 34 legislation that's going to be legislators, or do we want to put in lay people?
That's part of the resolution that we're doing about delegate selection. Because we have delegate selection and then the faithful delegate law. The faithful delegate has to be a law. The delegate selection has to be a resolution.
Right.
But that resolution is going to be, part of that resolution would be odd number of.
I know odd number, but how about makeup?
And makeup is.
Our model is silent on that, whether they have to be legislators or not.
Okay.
Some states said, like, 3 of their 5 have to be legislators and 2 have to be non-legislators.
Oh, okay.
Things like that. But we left that silent. It's basically the legislature picks who they want to send. And
Wasn't there some discussion too about having you could have like lay people that would go, but they would be overseen by a legislative committee?
Well, that's not the way Marty explained it to us.
everybody that goes is overseen by an advisory committee. The whole delegation is monitored by an advisory committee.
Yeah, it was lay people primarily. sponsored or guided by
In the resolution,
legislators
yeah, thank you.
who had no vote.
And my concern is that that convention would probably last for months, and how does a regular legislator
Yeah.
go and stay?
Yeah, that's Marty's point, yeah.
While trying to,
That's even nothing new. You have legislators, Jim Banks from the National Guard, he had to go serve. They dealt with that.
Yeah.
They know how to handle a legislator being
guess
out
that's
for
true.
a
Abstention.
while.
I just like the idea of a lay person being involved, not all legislators.
I think it
There-
should,
I don't
there's
trust
advantages to both. So some lay people I think would be good, but you can't make the mistake of sending only people with no legislative experience who don't know how to craft language and
That might be good, though. We could read it and understand it.
But having a mix is really nice.
you have to have some of both.
the other
Yeah.
thing you can do is you can send people from the
Just get the book
legislature
out.
who are non-voting members of the delegation, so they can bring their wisdom and say, here's what's gonna go down if you do that, but at the same time, they can only give advice, they can't actually make
That's the way
decision.
Marty explained it.
Yeah, I mean, that's my favorite way.
Let me be real practical. It's going to be pretty hard to sell model legislation to a bunch of
know.
legislators saying, you guys can't go,
I
you're
know.
too stupid.
I know, it's
It's
just like,
telling them they have to pick
it's
cotton
pretty
candy.
hard to sell CCLA to a legislator
Yeah,
too.
I get
Call
it.
it
I get it. You
consultants.
know what it's like.
They go as consultants, essentially.
By the
But, you know,
way,
but
I
that kind
wanna
of
take your
specificity,
chairmanship
I think
away.
Paul's right, we don't put that specificity in the resolution.
Yeah.
We say, look, resolution, we need to have this thing so that the delegates are selected, it's gotta be an odd number.
So, let's say we pass this, we get to convention. What we do is we start exercising our grassroots on the legislature and say, among your commissioners, we want Dan Stock.
That'd be cool.
And that's how we do it.
That's how you work it in there
Yeah.
after the fact.
Now, they may not listen to us, but that's how we influence legislatures.
The key thing is make sure they understand it's gotta be an odd number. We're gonna need that.
Yeah, to prevent ties, obviously.
Yeah, the model legislation says an odd number, maintain an odd number.
And to turn it to a resolution, not law. So
I keep using the word legislation, but I'm referring to both the bill and the.
I'll continue to nag until it happens. For both of us.
Okay.
Okay,
I think are we done with this one?
That
Because there's
might be-
one more.
where we go?
The next one is a COS candidate, but after have a COS person run
Oh,
for office.
run for office.
But I will say, we already have somebody who did that, but I don't know if we want to do it again. I didn't think of it till after you said it. Stan Gaskill, or Mike Gaskill, who is now a senator, and he was there with us at the Surge a couple of times, and then he ran for office and won. So we already have somebody who came up through the ranks. He didn't run as I'm a COS,
Yeah.
but it was there, so.
What, was it in the was he in the closet, COS guy?
I'm not in his district, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I doubt he would have been. He would be, I can't believe he would have been in the closet.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is, do we want to do this again? Do we want to still have somebody within our ranks run for office?
Is he still active with Convention Estates, Mike Gasker?
No.
John Ackerman will know.
Yeah, John would know, yeah.
I'll go ask him real quick.
Okay.
Is Gaskell from this area?
No, he's, yeah, from Anderson.
Oh,
Yeah,
Anderson.
Yeah, and
John would.
John knows him, and John still, I just learned he still has his Tea Party meetings, and Mike Gaskell, I think, goes to them. So if he's going to go to Tea Party meetings, he's not in the closet.
What is it?
Mike
It was
Gaskell
the
is not
34
an active
This?
volunteer with
Yeah, I
Convention
don't
Estates,
have
but
that
he's
in
just a
there.
supporter.
Okay,
5 minutes
That's
left.
but he was when we were passing the
You just volunteer
resolution.
one time then, or?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
This is it.
In that
I was
case, I
just
think
given
that's
it
an already
when I
done.
walked in front of it.
yeah,
I think that's
How many
got her
pages
done.
is it?
yeah, I do too.
5 minutes left, and we're going to have a spokesman from your
I mean-
group get 15 minutes to discuss this to the whole group.
I mean,
Anything else?
How about you?
You know what?
How about, you want to be, are
I
you
could
elected
take
as a
photos
spokesman?
of
I'll be
with
spokesman.
Thank you.
12 photos.
After all, I'm the only guy who can read.
That's okay.
I think you did really well.
just don't say vaccine.
I'll try and control myself.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. That might be the
I'm actually
simplest
bored with
way.
the topic right now. If I tell somebody, you know that shot's toxic, they go, yeah. Everybody knows it now.
Someone can send me that. Or they can send me that.
So if you get a meeting with Danny Lopez, let me know, because I've been trying since January.
He's mute.
And I ran into him at an event. He came over and talked to me, because my husband said, see that lady over there?
I saw him at the dinner.
And
Yeah,
being
well, at
legislators, I want to
the-
be prepared to talk
what do
to
they
them
call
about
it?
34 ready.
That
and,
picnic event,
Oh,
whatever. himself.
Don't know yet. I'm
And
trying to
I
coordinate
briefly
with
said,
them. I'm
you
not
know,
getting good
what I was
responses
about,
from
and was he,
Myers.
and he,
So
oh,
if
yeah,
it's
yeah,
after
so it was one of
Tuesday,
those,
which it
I
sounds
don't
like
know.
it will be.
Yeah.
I
Like
do like
Tuesday,
his
when I go to
background
meet
very
for
much.
this electronic.
Oh, perfect.
Isn't he
Just
involved
send it
with
to
the
me then.
Indiana Economic Development
But this
Corporation?
is,
or
I
whatever?
this is,
like that
that
his
would be ready to
grandparents
distribute
escaped
to the
Cuba.
legislators?
Yeah, I do
That's
too.
what I
I mean,
like.
is that in a form?
I thought of Melba.
I do too. Yep.
So you
I
might
do
be
too.
better
I
off
like
waiting.
that.
Well, what I
But
need
I've
to do
got
is I
all of
need
his
to read it,
literature
and
that he
then
sent me. He
I
sent
can
me
at least
4
discuss it with them
brochures.
to let them know
They're all
that
very
this is
general.
coming,
Of course, I
you're-
guess they
you're
have to be.
supporter.
Yeah.
Take pictures
And
now,
that's
and
not a
then I'll
good
send you
sign that
No,
I've
I don't
contacted,
have to do it
asked him
twice. So
directly for a
just email
meeting.
it to me
I've
when you have it
contacted
ready.
his staff, and they said, oh yeah, yeah, we're on it, and nothing. I donated, I get nothing. That's not a good sign.
That's the way with me.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Where Hunter Smith, on the other hand, came to Tim Heidenreich's, well, you actually met at a restaurant, didn't you?
Yeah. You and Tim Heidenreich and I met.
Hunter Smith is the total opposite
Yeah.
of Danny Lopez.
That's a little
Are you
word.
doing a report today?
I'm the guy
Oh,
who's
we're
gonna
done.
get up and read this and talk
You're
about
gonna do this and then,
I'm gonna be the guy who
and
actually-
blend that into. Talk about spies.
Screenshot.
In case I have trouble
What's
gathering
this?
information later.
Not legible.
Is that a pager?
Oh, yeah.
This could blow up. This could blow up.
I can actually brag that I was once in medical school. There was a group of nurses you always see huddling, and this is back when everybody had written orders, and they were huddling trying to to decipher a doctor's handwriting as to what the hell they were supposed to do for the
Yeah,
patient.
well, you know
And I was told there was never one of those that happened on my order.
Never won.
That is an
Is this yours?
I know I asked the doctor one time.
You don't know who it is? This could be a bomb.
You know,
accomplishment.
legibility was,
Everybody signed in that was.
No.
Come on, he was giving me,
Doctors benefit a lot from nurses kicking them in the crotch.
you know,
Uh-oh, I heard that.
had a
Well,
brand
we
new
need
patient. I called him for orders. He gave me about 20 orders. I read through, and I said, "Can I read this back to you?" He said, "No." It's like, okay.
legibility was one of the supposed
Anybody else?
justifications for EMRs.
Yeah.
I had my own model that used word templates and Dragon. You didn't need an EMR. An EMR was a way for the feds to grab structured data that they then could use to come and hit us over the head with.
Yes. Anybody who thinks that an EMR was there to prove anything is a process, no, it was there as a
Besides that,
control.
look at the
If you know-
expense and the time that it took, and the more people that you had to hire,
Right.
and
And
the
if you
longer it
so-
took for your.
And if you don't think it worked, think about what happened to anybody who wanted to write ivermectin who was working for a health network.
This was one of the first things Obama did when he came in. Was get this in, and you know this
One
was a
system.
means to an end.
It's going to one payer system. That's what it's.
No doubt. No.
You guys off mic. This was,
Oh, was this yours?
yeah,
Did you have it swept?
of course.
We were thinking it was a bomb.
Wave to Thomas.
She was 18.
You just blew Thomas's ears out.
What we're gonna do is just have a spokesperson from each group present what you've talked about. We're certainly not finished with the process, but as they're presenting, we'd like you guys to give them feedback. And each group needs to follow up and really hone these into a good goal with a here, there, by a date. And we're going to have a lot more success next year than we did this, so don't be discouraged. So, any group want to go first? Dan, you had your hand up. She's 18. She's 18.
I'm pretty good at anatomy, and I'm pretty sure that's not a hand.
Wherever you want. Okay, I'll post it right on the, yeah.
Read it for him, Dan. I can't read it.
Okay, so we started off with coming up with the alternative to the Howard report. We came up with the name of the Indiana Legislative Liberty Report. And our action item on that is that I am going to contact, there's a local reporter who's a former reporter for the Epic Times named Margaret Mengi, who's now blogging. That I'm going to contact to see if I can get her to take on this, knowing that she will have support, with the idea that we will actually have people feed her what's going on with COS so that she can read a report on it. Hopefully making this so that legislators start to see their name as the I'm in the Liberty report, having done something good, or I'm in the Liberty report for having done something bad. So that was the first we tackled, was the liberty-minded response to the Howie report. And that will be done by the end of the day. Wow. And I got her in my contact list, so it's easy. I can do it driving home. Second was up to identify legislative champions in the legislature. And the action items we're going to do there, first of all, we're going to see who attends the Tuesday meeting, which Paul and company are all going to do. Second was to identify the supporting votes and the sponsors for the 2016 resolution to see how many of them are still in the legislature, which Diane is going to be taking care of. The next one is to try and take the candidate survey by a QR code and have that done by 11/5/24 so that we can actually go to every candidate and every person who wins this election and say, hey, we want you to take our survey and make it easy for them so we can handle something they can just flash on their phone and go to a survey. Next one under the identified legislative champs was to update the LMS after the election, invite all freshman legislators to the Convention of States training that Catherine Zemanek is going to be running to train all freshman legislators on the Convention of States resolution. Next thing we tackled was the 34 Ready, and our steps on that was to encourage the Convention of States caucus to be formed by the legislators. That's going to start happening on Tuesday when we start arm twisting them to make that caucus. The second one is we need to amend the delegate law to turn it to a delegate resolution. As Paul so aptly pointed out, you can't make a law telling a future legislature what to do. You can make a resolution, and that resolution is to make sure that, among other things, there is an odd number of commissioners who come from Indiana, not the present requirement of 2. And next action item was to amend the faithful delegate law to make it stronger. Paul, what was the improvement we're making on that again?
We're adding a felony penalty for anybody who interferes with, threatens, obstructs a commissioner from any state in doing their duty, which we pass that would make Indiana we call it an Article 5 sanctuary state, which puts you at the top of the list for hosting the convention. Because you want to do it in a state that will protect the convention.
Indiana can say we will protect that convention and have it be open-minded, and that is the report of the legislative committee. Last one, we looked at the Convention of States candidates, and we said we've already got 2 of them in there, including one who was a supporter, was down there in 2016 lobbying for it, who has already become a senator. So we said we've already got that one done.
Fair enough. Any questions, comments, feedback, complaints?
Who is it down there that you have already?
Mike Gaskell.
What's that? Okay. What district is he in?
He's in First John Autumn.
Right here, he's a senator for this county, Madison County.
Excellent. Dale's next. He's anxious to go. He's got a whole bunch of stuff to share with us.
Well, I can't read this, so I'm sure you can't either. I'll put it up anyway. We want to grow the comms team, and in doing so, we want to obviously attract more people to Convention of States, more supporters, and of course, more leaders. So we've got a number of action steps here that we want to take for now through 2025. And one of the main requirements here for us to accomplish this is that we're going to, specifically with COS Indiana Live, as you know, that's a weekly live stream that we do. And the service that we use is now introducing some upgraded plans. And we've been on a very basic plan for pretty much the whole 5 years that I've been involved in this. And this new plan that is coming out now, of course, is more expensive, but it has some very good enhancements to it, and some new features to it. So I've already talked with Catherine, and we've got her blessing on it. So I think we're going to be able to get it through, because thank goodness COS does pay for this. So I think we're going to be able to get it done. Here's some things that we want to accomplish, some specific
things that we want to accomplish. We have people that are considered contributors to COS Indiana Live. These are the John Ackermans, Gary Harbaugh, some others, Wendy Olson, I don't know, you haven't met her, Larry Hudson, Meet the Founders. We have 5 of those 5 contributors. We want to increase that to 7. So anyone that's interested, please let me know. We also do a newsletter, as you know. Sue Lyon is the editor of our newsletter. Right now we have 2 content writers, state content writers. Basically kind of like 1.5. They're not very active. We want to increase that to 4 state content writers. And again, any of you that might be interested in writing for our newsletter, let us know. Okay. Again, back to this advanced plan that we want to go to with our service provider. Currently, we're afforded 2 administrative people on that plan. We want to go to 4. We'll be able to increase that to 4. What does that do? That gets more people involved in administering the service. And that means we can do more. Our current plan, we're authorized to broadcast to 3 destinations. Right now we're broadcasting to Facebook and to YouTube. So we're only in doing 2 of those right now. Under the new plan, we'll be able to broadcast to 8 destinations. So that's going to broaden out our exposure quite a bit. Another one of the advanced new features is that of hosting an on-air online webinar. And this could be for educational purposes. This could be to view documentaries, to make presentations, and we will be authorized to host up to 1,000 viewers through this on-air feature that's coming. Could be, like I said, educational, whatever we want to use it. We also want to utilize our state website. How many of you ever seen our state website? Larry, how can they see the state website?
TheTwoStates.com/Indiana.
There you go. I just learned, embarrassed to say this, but we can post the recording of COS Indiana Live to our state website. So starting tonight, we're going to do that, okay? As well as anything else that we generate, anything that from a recording standpoint, Larry can get posted on that website. Another thing that we want to do is, right now, we as you know, every 4th Monday of the month, we changed the format to a roundtable format. And right now, we have 5 panelists involved in that roundtable discussion. We want to increase the participation in that panelist group. We've got about 5 people that tend to be the same people every month, so we want to get more people involved in participating on the roundtable. So those are pretty much the items that we want to get accomplished in 2025.
Any questions, comments, or complaints?
Yeah, question. From 5 members to how many on the board would you like to see?
We're not looking to increase the number. We want to increase the participation.
That doesn't mean you have to be on every month. It just means that you can be on standby.
So
rotate.
From a pool of 5 potential panelists to a pool of how many potential panelists?
15?
No, we're not looking at increasing the number of panelists.
No, but the
No,
pool
you want more people available to be panelists?
Yes, yes.
How many people do you want available to be panelists? Right now you got 5. How many?
Well, I'd like to know that we've got about 15 people out there that would be willing to to, I knew what you wanted. I was just seeing if you were going to get there.
They'll all be your first.
Good, thank you.
You don't have to be bald either, you can have hair.
And we won't say the word vaccine. So, I've been involved in COS Indiana Live for about 5 years now, and we've come a long way with that. And I love doing it. I want to thank you for supporting me. Thank you very much.
Who do we have speaking for grassroots?
The guy who can read the scribbles.
saw some chatter here at the legislative table. Was there a concern with that or some
Well,
thoughts on it?
didn't Stacy look into that?
It's terribly expensive. I can't remember the cost. We thought about, depending on the cost, if we could partner with Patriot Academy and have them come in with us and have two for one. Isn't that what we were saying?
Jeff had assured us that, National would pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, I know we paid up to 1,000, so if it's like 10,000, that's probably crazy. I know we paid up to 1,000.
I know
There's
that.
also requirements, I think at the state fair, that you have to be there the whole fair.
Right.
Yeah.
So it would take all of us volunteers.
Manning that would be,
That's right, it takes all of us.
Well, Jeff had another idea.
all.
He said in the past that they have partnered with other groups to share the table. And so if you did like Convention States, Moms for Liberty, or some other organization like that, we could share manpower and experience.
I know this is not Iowa, but the Iowa State Fair is, I think they did 3,000 petitions this past.
They did 6,000 one year.
Oh, yeah. So it's worth investigating, and if the national events team is going to say no to the cost, we need to let them say no instead of say no or something, right? Because they might say yes.
I know Kentucky routinely gets 1,000 or more petitions at their state fair. And most of them are Hoosiers that are signing it down there.
And I'll also comment on the shopping for petitions. You know, at convenience stores, there's a lot of success with this going on in the Northeast. Of just setting up at a Walmart or a grocery store right outside. Of course, getting permission from the store, but a lot of interaction. And of course, this isn't the Northeast. Our culture may be different. It might not work.
I think Walmart's kind of universally approved now. They're pretty.
Well, they have a process for it where you can apply to do that. I'm not sure how easy approval is. Worth a try. Anything else? Any other questions or comments?
This young lady had an idea on the floor, so you want to explain that idea? Available to you guys whenever you want to go. Either you take directly personally or through your leadership. Got some novel ways.
No.
No, they're the New England Patriot Union under Michael. That was kind of like.
Okay, we got through that a little early. Good job. So your assignment going forward is to take these goals, keep working on them, refine them. Dale, I'm sure you'll collect them all and develop your scorecard. And then the accountability to make sure that we are advancing the ball and not just have these be something we talked about today and don't really pour into and make progress on. Yes, Vicki.
About the state fair, you want to explain how you thought maybe we could do it to get everybody involved? Like the people,
So as we were talking, I mean, it's gonna take a minimum of 10 to 15 people a day to volunteer. And so I was hoping the people that were doing an hour would do morning shift. And then everyone else is gonna be driving 2 to 3 hours to volunteer to come in the afternoon. If we went to do 2 shifts back to back, we could get some folks to, get a couple rooms together or whatever, figure that out. Scotty and I work the afternoons and / mornings. And then just keep rotating it. And so if we did it that way and we brought, our goal is to also bring on some new volunteers before then too, so we have more people. It shouldn't be too bad. So, but again, this is all just an idea. It depends on the cost and if we can partner with someone and it can't make it, all the above. So we'll see. I'm sorry? So I would think basically the state director would probably be, and I'd be happy to work with him. Right, yep, exactly. That's perfect. I don't want to send it up if he's not here, but if you're not here, we sign you up. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
back to you, Dale.
All right, we wanted to get together for a big photo, and then, like I said, all this stuff, all of that stuff needs to go home with somebody, so figure out who's gonna take one. We don't want Big John with a map of the dump on the whole field. Mark back to the I can scribe the best of it. Something on track. Well, you can be on track. Team effort.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
That idea of the state fair and share it for the group. Yeah. Because I think it's a hard